The zone mapping framework divides the field into four key vertical layers that define how quarterbacks attack coverage structures. Short zones, such as swing, flat, and delay areas, are primarily used for running back checkdowns, quick outs, and screen passes. Intermediate zones, including curl, hook, and out routes, operate underneath linebackers and target the intermediate sideline windows. The middle or hole zone lies between linebackers and safeties and is typically exploited through post and dig routes. Finally, deep zones, covering the deep thirds and deep halves, are where boundary go routes, deep crossers, and posts develop, testing both arm strength and coverage discipline. Quarterback zone-by-zone analysis. Dillon Gabriel versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Gabriel completed 29 of 52 passes for 221 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions, posting a completion percentage over expected, CPOE, of negative 11.5%. His distribution leaned heavily toward flat and swing routes, relying on short throws to the left and right. Attempts over the middle in the hook and curl zones were inconsistent, while the hole and deep zones were nearly untouched, with no vertical completions recorded. This performance illustrates Pittsburgh's success in forcing horizontal, low-yield passing by dropping linebackers deep into zone coverage. Gabriel's negative efficiency, even on short throws, highlights his struggles with timing and placement. His strength lies in his rhythm-based quick game in the flats, but he showed no ability to challenge intermediate or deep coverage, making him ineffective against cover 2 and deep shell structures. Carson Wentz versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Wentz completed 30 of 46 passes for 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, with a modest plus 0.9% CPOE. His production centered on attacking deep one-third zones, where he connected on multiple long completions, including touchdowns. He also generated consistent results in the hook and curl areas, but used the flats only sparingly. Wentz's aggressive downfield approach successfully stressed Pittsburgh's deep coverage, especially against rotating safeties and cover 3 looks. However, his turnovers reflected poor post-snap recognition of disguised rotations and pressure looks. His primary strength was creating explosive plays in the deep middle, while his weakness was over-aggression into rotating zone shells, leading to costly errors under pressure. Maye versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Maye delivered one of the more balanced performances, completing 28 of 37 passes for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, with a plus 3.5% CPOE. He efficiently used the flats and swing routes to maintain rhythm, but excelled in the hook and hole zones, where both of his touchdowns occurred. Maye's selective deep attempts were generally clean, showing good decision-making rather than forced aggression. His passing profile reflects precision between linebackers and safeties, capitalizing on soft zone spacing and timing windows. His strength lies in attacking the middle layers of the field with accuracy and anticipation. However, he remains limited as a deep boundary thrower, keeping production confined within structured play design. Sam Darnold versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Darnold completed 22 of 33 passes for 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, producing a plus 2.8% CPOE. He blended vertical throws with rhythm-based intermediate passes, highlighted by a touchdown on a deep sideline fade. Nonetheless, his interceptions came from intermediate middle attempts, a sign of Pittsburgh's linebackers dropping into deeper undercuts in pattern match or Tampa 2 coverage. Darnold's key strength was his accuracy on deep throws when kept clean, but his primary flaw was processing speed. He often delivered late into congested zones, resulting in turnovers, His effectiveness diminished when linebacker depth and rotation altered post-snap. Justin Fields versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Fields was both efficient and composed, completing 16 of 22 passes for 218 yards and one touchdown without an interception, posting an excellent plus 8.3% CPOE. He relied less on short throws, instead emphasizing intermediate timing concepts and selective deep shots. His touchdown came on a deep go or post route, and he excelled attacking the intermediate to deep hole zone, particularly when linebackers were influenced by motion or play action. Fields demonstrated rhythm, vertical confidence, and decisiveness, turning limited volume into high efficiency. His main strength was exploiting the deep intermediate hole with precision and timing. The only notable limitation was sample size. His low number of dropbacks prevents a full measure of sustainability. Summary: collectively, the quarterback data reveal how Pittsburgh's defensive structure dictates offensive behavior. The Steelers' zone schemes force horizontal throws and restrict access to deep layers unless a passer has the arm talent and timing to exploit rotating safeties. Gabriel was fully contained underneath. Wentz tested but was punished by disguise. Maye managed the field efficiently. Darnold was baited into intermediate mistakes, and Fields succeeded by selectively striking the weak points between zones. The Steelers' defensive profile across all games reveals a zone-centric structure that prioritizes containment and rally tackling while occasionally exposing deeper seams. In the flat and swing zones, opponents enjoy a high completion rate but generate low expected points added EPA. Pittsburgh's defense concedes these short throws intentionally, playing soft zones that invite quick passes underneath before closing in to tackle. This area was most frequently exploited by Dillon, Gabriel, and Sam Darnold, whose offenses relied on horizontal checkdowns with limited vertical threat. In the curl and hook zones, production has been moderate, though these areas have also yielded key interceptions thanks to disciplined linebacker play and strong route recognition. Quarterbacks like Drake Maye and Carson Wentz found intermittent success here, but Pittsburgh's middle defenders excel when they read patterns cleanly, though risk emerges when over-rotation or miscommunication occurs between the linebackers and safeties. The deep middle or hole zone has been the Steelers' most vulnerable area, producing several touchdowns from Maye, Wentz, and Justin Fields. Late safety rotations and slow closing speed against deep dig and post routes have repeatedly left this window open, particularly against Cover 2 and Tampa 2 structures. Meanwhile, in the deep thirds and deep halves, results have been mixed. Wentz and Darnold both connected on vertical touchdowns, but Pittsburgh's corners generally held up on boundary routes, with safeties occasionally strained by play-action movement and late route development. Strategically, the Steelers rely heavily on zone-based coverage, using a blend of Cover 2, Cover 3, and Tampa 2 looks. They are effective underneath, but remain susceptible between the linebacker and safety levels. The defense thrives when pressure arrives quickly or when disguises create confusion, often generating turnovers. However, those same rotations and simulated blitzes can leave the deep hole seams unprotected if execution falters. In terms of quarterback matchup trends, the data shows clear stratification. High-efficiency passers like Maye and Fields succeed by layering throws into the curl and hole zones with rhythm and anticipation. Aggressive vertical passers such as Wentz and Darnold achieve explosive chunk plays but also commit turnovers when misreading post-snap rotations. Meanwhile, limited short-game quarterbacks like Gabriel fail to stretch the defense, resulting in low completion percentage over expected CPOE figures and an absence of explosive gains. The summary matrix reinforces these tendencies. Dillon, Gabriel, a horizontal quick game passer, operated almost exclusively in the flats and swings, finishing with a negative 11.5% CPOE and no touchdowns or interceptions, fully constrained by Pittsburgh's zone drops. Carson Wentz, the archetypal aggressive vertical thrower, thrived in the deep thirds but struggled with turnovers in the deep middle, posting plus 0.9% CPOE with a 2-to-2 TD/NT line. Maye demonstrated the most balanced rhythm approach, working efficiently through the curl and hold zones, plus 3.5% CPOE, 2-to-1 TD/NT with controlled accuracy. Sam Darnold, another vertical timing quarterback, produced mixed results, effective on deep sideline throws, but turnover-prone in congested middle areas, plus 2.8% CPOE, 2-to-2 TDINT. Finally, Justin Fields was the most efficient passer against the Steelers, using selective vertical aggression and intermediate precision to exploit the hole and deep zones, plus 8.3% CPOE, 1-to-0 TDINT. Overall, Pittsburgh's 2025 defensive identity is defined by disciplined zone structure, front four pressure synergy, and selective opportunism, but with persistent exposure in the deep intermediate seams that confident, rhythm-oriented quarterbacks can exploit. The 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers full efficiency framework highlights a balanced but distinctively rhythm-driven and pressure-dependent identity. A team that thrives on timing, disruption, and situational control more than raw explosiveness. Combined efficiency metrics. The Steelers' expected points, added EPA, per play, stands at minus 0.01 on offense and minus 0.07 on defense, resulting in a net team figure of plus 0.06. This means the defense suppresses opponent efficiency more effectively than the offense generates it, yielding a mildly positive overall balance. Their passing game shows a plus 0.03 EPA per pass on offense and minus 0.06 on defense, for a plus 0.09 net advantage. An edge driven by pressure creation and quarterback Aaron Rodgers' quick rhythm passing, which minimizes risk. The running game remains inefficient, with negative 0.06 offensive EPA per rush versus negative 0.09 defensive, for a modest plus 0.03 net advantage. Offensive success rate sits below average, with the Steelers converting on-schedule plays 42.7% of the time compared to opponents' 46.5%. Their EPA stability index of 0.19, derived from low variance across situations, shows that the team is matchup-proof and steady in both execution and identity. Pressure and timing synergy metrics. When examining synergy between pressure and timing, Rodgers is significantly more efficient when kept clean, while Pittsburgh's defense maintains a plus 0.29 EPA swing when generating pressure. The pass rush converts 22.8% of pressures into sacks, roughly 1 in 5, ranking among the league's elite. The quarterback pressure avoidance rate sits at 7%, slightly below the league average of 10 to 12%, indicating moderate vulnerability. The offensive line stability index, negative 0.26 seconds, shows that Rodgers is being pressured roughly a quarter second earlier than ideal, reflecting mild strain in pass protection. Defensively, the disruption score, 17%, meaning that 1 in every 6 opponent dropbacks ends in a pressure or turnover, ranks inside the top 10 in the league. Rushing game quality metrics. The team's true rushing value, TRV, sits at negative 0.03 on offense and negative 0.10 on defense, netting a plus 0.07 advantage. The rushing offense is slightly below neutral efficiency, but the defense continues to outperform opponents on a per-carry basis. The offensive line's blocking efficiency gap, measured as yards before contact per attempt, 0.41 on offense versus 1.25 allowed on defense, results in a negative 0.84 differential, indicating that the line frequently loses the line of scrimmage battle. However, the Steelers display elite contact resilience with a post-contact index of 16.3, showing exceptional short yardage conversion ability. They perform better against stacked boxes, with a plus 0.05 efficiency differential suggesting that vision and patience outweigh pure speed in their rushing profile. Their speed-adjusted rushing success rate of 6.5% reflects modest explosiveness, favoring power over burst, coverage, and target dynamics. Defensively, Pittsburgh's coverage tightness index of negative 0.20 means they allow roughly 20% more receiver separation than the league average, consistent with their soft zone tendencies. On offense, the receiver efficiency index of 0.57, derived from combining EPA per target and yards after catch over expected (YACOE), highlights excellent production, particularly from DK Metcalf's YAC creation. The target adaptability metric, negative 0.08, indicates that slot receivers are slightly less efficient than outside targets, reinforcing that the offense is built around perimeter isolations. Explosive target share stands at 7%, showing a moderate emphasis on deep passes. Defensively, the coverage disruption score, 13%, shows a healthy balance of pressure and turnover generation, anchored by Darius Slay and Deshaun Elliott. Situational strength and game script. The Steelers' game script efficiency of plus 0.15 underscores a front-running profile. Their offense stabilizes when leading, effectively managing tempo and clock control. The defensive resilience index of negative 0.14, however, reveals late-game vulnerability when trailing, as pressure production declines under duress. Offensively, formation efficiency favors the shotgun by plus 0.12 EPA over under-center plays, due to better spacing and yards after catch opportunities. Against the Blitz, Rodgers performs consistently, with only a slight minus 0.04 EPA difference between blitzed and non-blitzed situations. The tempo impact factor of plus 0.59 represents one of the largest efficiency gaps in the league. Quick, rhythm-based plays are the foundation of the offense's success. Opponent-adjusted context. Opponent-adjusted EPA, OEPA. Metrics show that Pittsburgh's efficiency is schedule-neutral, with both offense and defense posting identical minus 0.05 values after adjustment. The matchup differential index and explosive differential both measure at 0.00, confirming balance between the two phases. The situational balance index plus 0.01 demonstrates that play-action concepts provide a slight but consistent boost in overall offensive efficiency, supporting the team's balanced play-calling tendencies. Elite composite metrics. The total team efficiency index, TTEI, of plus 0.037 ranks slightly above the league average, confirming steady two-way strength. The defensive disruption composite, DDC, of 18% reflects a high chaos creation rate driven by front seven pressure. The offensive cohesion score, OCS, of negative 0.47 standard deviations shows mild imbalance between the passing and rushing phases, the passing attack being substantially stronger. Finally, the pass rush balance index, PRBI, of 0.324, calculated from a 0.92-second get-off against a 2.84-second time to throw, highlights a fast and coordinated defensive front. Executive summary. Steelers' 2025 Composite Profile. Offensively, the Steelers are effectively league average at negative 0.01 EPA per play, with a positive passing profile and a lagging rushing unit. Their success hinges on quick game rhythm and tempo, as evidenced by the plus 0.59 EPA swing between fast and long time-to-throw situations. Line protection remains a mechanical concern, reflected in limited yards before contact and reduced pocket stability. Defensively, Pittsburgh ranks in the top 10 in suppression with negative 0.07 EPA per play allowed. The front seven generates elite pressure, 40% quarterback pressure rate, 9.1% sack rate, 0.85 second get-off, though the 3.6-yard average separation allowed in coverage limits the defense's ceiling. The resilience index of negative 0.14 signals a fade in effectiveness when trailing. As a whole, the Steelers post a net EPA per play of plus 0.06 and a net EPA per pass of plus 0.09, roughly 10th to 12th in the league, consistent with a well-rounded playoff caliber team. Their total team efficiency index of plus 0.037 places them slightly above the National Football League mean. In summary, the 2025 Steelers are a methodical, pressure-oriented, and timing-dependent team. The offense thrives on precision and quick decision-making, while the defense wins through chaos and frontline disruption. Together, they produce a plus 0.06 EPA differential, the mark of a disciplined playoff-level unit that relies on tempo, timing, and toughness more than yardage volume. The top receiving performers for the Pittsburgh Steelers against off coverage in 2025 illustrate a clear hierarchy of efficiency and usage, with wide receiver DK Metcalf emerging as the centerpiece of the passing attack. DK Metcalf remains the primary engine of offensive production versus cushion coverage. On 43 routes and 9 targets, 20.9% target share, he posted an elite 88.9% catch rate and a completion rate over expected, CROE, of plus 22.9%. Metcalf generated plus 12.7 total expected points added, EPA, averaging plus 1.41 per target, with 98 yards after catch, CTYAC, and plus 56 yards after catch over expected, EACOE. His average target depth of 5.6 yards and 3.1 yards of separation demonstrate how effectively he exploits soft coverage. Although only 11.1% of his targets were deep and 1/3 came in tight windows, Metcalf's short to intermediate precision routes, slants, hitches, and digs produced elite efficiency and explosive gains. Jonnu Smith serves as a reliable short-area outlet beneath zone cushions. Running 33 routes and seeing 7 targets, 21.2% share, Smith caught 85.7% of passes despite a slight negative CROE, minus 1.4%. He contributed plus 2.3 total EPA, plus 0.33 per target, with 43 YS and minus 5 YACOE, indicating solid but unspectacular production. His average target depth of negative 1.7 yards and 3.9 yards of separation reflect his role as a check-down and chain-moving option, consistent, dependable, and valuable in ball control situations. Pat Freiermuth worked primarily through the intermediate seams, running 36 routes and drawing 8 targets, 22.2% share. He caught 75% of those passes with a plus 9.9% CROE, gaining 19 YAC plus 5 YACOE, while his total EPA was negative, minus 1.9 overall, minus 0.24 per target. His ability to generate yards beyond expectation suggests effectiveness on play-action crossers and seam routes against soft zones. Freiermuth's 6.7-yard average target depth and 2.1 yards of separation highlight his role in intermediate timing patterns rather than pure underneath work. Calvin Austin III provided deep speed but inconsistent results. Across 37 routes and 6 targets, 16.2% share, he caught only half his passes, 50%, and recorded a negative 14.5% CROE, contributing negative 6.8 total EPA minus 1.13 per target. Despite his inefficiency, Austin produced 22 YAC with plus 11 YACOE, showing potential when he connects. His 11.5-yard average target depth and 3.4 yards of separation indicate that he often stretches the field against off coverage, but struggles to convert those opportunities due to timing or accuracy breakdowns. Secondary contributors include tight end Connor Hayward, who was perfect in limited action, 100% catch rate, plus 26.1% CROE on just 4 routes. Darnell Washington, by contrast, has been inefficient, negative 0.34 EPA per target, with minimal usage over 17 routes. Roman Wilson, Jalen Warren, and Kenneth Gainwell have seen limited off-coverage involvement, primarily operating in motion, flat, or swing assignments rather than true route progressions. Tactical implications suggest that Metcalf's dominance in off-coverage scenarios defines Pittsburgh's offensive rhythm. His short to intermediate work in slants, digs, and hitches generates consistent positive EPA, likely prompting defenses to respond with tighter press alignments or shaded safety help. The tight ends, Smith, Freiermuth, and Hayward, form the structural backbone of the underneath game, combining catch reliability with moderate explosiveness. Meanwhile, Austin's inefficiency deep underscores the need for improved spacing and timing in vertical passing against zone shells. Overall, the Steelers are significantly more efficient on short and intermediate throws than on deeper off-coverage attempts, with most positive EPA concentrated in Metcalf's yards after catch production. The overall snapshot of the 2025 Steelers roster supports a balanced defensive identity as well. Top snap leaders include linebacker Patrick Queen, 339, cornerback Jalen Ramsey, 309, cornerback Darius Slay, 301, and edge rusher T.J. Watt, 273. The defense features a hybrid core with 4 linebackers, 6 defensive backs, and 5 defensive linemen ranking among the top 15 in snap counts. This structure reflects a balanced philosophy between coverage integrity and pressure generation, defensive backs absorbing most of the target volume, while edge rushers such as Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith dominate quarterback pressures to maintain a disruptive yet disciplined front. The 2025 Pittsburgh Steelers defensive performance profile highlights a disciplined, aggressive, and pressure-centric identity built around an elite front 7 and a versatile active secondary. Run defense and tackling. Linebacker Patrick Queen anchors the Steelers' run defense, leading the team with 121 run defense snaps, 44 tackles, and 21 stops, while allowing 188 yards. His consistent presence in both inside and off-tackle lanes makes him the centerpiece of Pittsburgh's interior containment. Defensive backs Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay each have 118 run defense snaps, with Ramsey recording 20 tackles and Slay 19. Both contribute heavily to perimeter run fits, allowing 186 and 131 yards respectively. Edge rusher T.J. Watt continues to display elite physicality and pursuit, registering 99 run defense snaps, 24 tackles, and 19 stops, while allowing only 82 yards. Linebacker Peyton Wilson adds 38 tackles and 12 stops on 87 snaps, showing excellent range against outside zone runs. Safeties. Juan Thornhill and Cameron Hayward each play critical roles as well. Thornhill with 30 tackles and 9 stops on 79 snaps, and Hayward maintaining strong interior control with 85 snaps and 14 stops. Rookie defensive tackle Keanu Benton contributes 9 tackles and 8 stops over 92 snaps, using leverage and gap discipline to limit yards after contact. Collectively, this unit shows excellent pursuit angles and aggressive secondary involvement, particularly from Ramsey, Slay, and Thornhill in closing down outside runs. Pass rush efficiency. Pittsburgh's pass rush unit remains one of the league's most productive and diverse. T.J. Watt leads all defenders with 162 rush attempts, producing 3.5 sacks and 22 quarterback pressures at a 13.6% pressure rate, continuing his hallmark dominance off the edge. Nick Herbig, with 140 rushes, outpaces Watt in sacks, 4.5, and pressures, 24, while boasting a 17.1% pressure rate, making him one of the most efficient rushers on the roster. Alex Highsmith, though limited to 53 rushes, has 1.5 sacks and 11 pressures, leading the team in efficiency with a 20.8% pressure rate. Patrick Queen, used frequently as a blitzer, has a remarkable 23.5% pressure rate on 34 rushes, while Cameron Hayward and Keanu Benton form a strong interior tandem, combining for 17 pressures and 2.5 sacks over nearly 280 rush snaps. Hayward maintains a 7.7% pressure rate, and Benton adds a 4.5% rate through leverage-based interior play. Overall, Herbig's sack rate, Queen's blitz timing, and Highsmith's situational explosiveness complement Watt's all-around dominance. Coverage and yards allowed. The Steelers' coverage performance follows a bend-but-don't-break trend, emphasizing containment over contesting every catch. Ramsey has faced 22 targets, allowing 17 completions and 3 touchdowns with 1 interception, resulting in a passer rating of 122.3. Though those touchdowns are uncharacteristic, most came on red zone isolations. Patrick Queen has been targeted 26 times, allowing 18 catches and 2 touchdowns for a 115.5 rating, highlighting his heavy involvement in intermediate coverage. Darius Slay has allowed 13 receptions on 19 targets with 1 touchdown, yielding a 105.4 rating, steady but slightly below his career average. Peyton Wilson, Thornhill, and Chuck Clark have all been frequently tested on intermediate routes, allowing high completion percentages, over 75%, but keeping plays in front of them. This structure, while susceptible to short yardage efficiency, limits explosive plays and supports the team's pass rush-first design. Efficiency highlights. T.J. Watt remains the defensive cornerstone with 273 total snaps, 3.5 sacks, 19 stops, 82 rushing yards allowed, and a strong 67.7 coverage grade, elite production across multiple responsibilities. Patrick Queen stands as the true every-down linebacker, leading the defense with 339 snaps, 98.5% playtime, and 44 total tackles while contributing both in coverage and as a blitzer. Nick Herbig's emergence as a high-efficiency rotational rusher continues, with an elite sack-to-snap ratio in limited action. Meanwhile, Jalen Ramsey remains a high-snap, high-responsibility defender whose run support remains elite even as his coverage efficiency shows minor decline. Summary interpretation. The Steelers' front seven is deep, balanced, and versatile. Watt, Queen, Herbig, and Benton form the nucleus of a top-tier blend of power, pursuit, and disruption. The secondary, led by Ramsey and Slay, remains productive yet somewhat vulnerable under heavy zone rotations, yielding high completion rates but few explosive plays. Overall, Pittsburgh's defensive identity is defined by an aggressive hybrid front with frequent linebacker blitzes and soft zone coverage underneath, trading yards for disruption opportunities. Overall pass rush profile. The Steelers' defense generates elite pressure through a multi-layered blitz-heavy front anchored by Watt and Hayward. Across 5 games, the team has recorded more than 95 total quarterback pressures, ranking among the league's best. Watt's 22 pressures on 162 rushes, 13.6%, and 0.84-second average get-off set the standard for edge disruption. Herbig and Highsmith form a dynamic rotational duo, combining for 7.5 sacks on just 193 total rushes, a 3.9% sack rate. The interior tandem of Hayward and Benton anchors pocket compression, producing 17 pressures and 2.5 sacks, with consistent time to pressure, about 2.9 seconds. Top individual rushers. Watt continues to dominate as a relentless edge rusher, combining leverage and acceleration for early wins in his rushes. Herbig has become an explosive rotational force, boasting the team's highest pressure percentage, 17.1%, and identical 0.84-second get-off to Watt. Hayward and Benton maintain dependable interior disruption with strong hand technique and leverage control. Highsmith, despite limited reps, remains the most efficient rusher per snap, with elite closing speed and a 20.8% pressure rate. Together, the interior trio of Hayward, Benton, and Derek Harmon contributes 5 sacks and 23 pressures on over 360 combined rushes, helping collapse pockets and open lanes for the edges. Blitzing secondary impact. Pittsburgh integrates its defensive backs and linebackers heavily into pressure schemes. Queen, operating as a hybrid blitzer, produces pressure on 23.5% of rushes, 8 on 34, while Ramsey generates a 30% pressure rate on his corner blitzes. Safeties, Deshaun Elliott and Chuck Clark add occasional pressures from deep alignments, adding disguise and unpredictability to the front. These secondary blitzes, used on 11 to 16% of defensive snaps, rank above league average in efficiency without resulting in frequent coverage breakdowns. Pressure creation metrics. The team's average time to pressure, 2.84 seconds, ranks among the best in the league, and its 0.92-second average get-off highlights synchronized explosiveness across the front. Herbig leads the defense with an 18.7% pressure-to-sack conversion rate, underscoring the group's ability to finish plays. Summary insight. The 2025 Steelers defense combines elite front-line talent, disguised blitz variety, and complementary interior balance to sustain one of the NFL's most efficient pressure systems through Week 5. The team's formula revolves around disruptive volume, deceptive design, and collective burst, consistently overwhelming protection schemes while maintaining gap integrity. Overall context. This analysis reflects the Steelers' performance against off-coverage during the 2025 regular season. The data integrates metrics such as receiving expected points added, EPA, EPA per target, catch rate over expected, CROE, yards after catch, CYAC, yards after catch over expected, average separation, deep target percentage, and tight window percentage, collectively painting a picture of a defense that thrives on pressure and rally tackling while allowing controlled completions underneath. The Pittsburgh Steelers' top receiving performers in 2025, based on expected points added, EPA impact, and next-gen stats metrics reveal a passing structure built around precision, physicality, and slot-based adaptability. Top performers, EPA-based impact. Wide receiver DK Metcalf stands as the clear offensive focal point and alpha target, dominating both efficiency and volume against off coverage. Across 43 routes and 9 targets, he posted an 88.9% catch rate with a plus 22.9% catch rate over expected, CROE, generating plus 12.7 total receiving EPA, the highest on the team, and plus 1.41 EPA per target. His 98 yards after catch, YAC, and plus 56 yards after catch over expected, EACOE, demonstrate elite physicality and explosive finishing ability. Despite modest average separation, 3.1 yards, and limited deep opportunities, 11.1%, Metcalf thrives on short to intermediate in-breaking routes that exploit cushion coverage and amplify his YAC potential. Tight end Jonnu Smith serves as the dependable secondary option, operating mostly underneath. On 33 routes and 7 targets, he posted an 85.7% catch rate and a slightly negative CROE, minus 1.4%, yet produced plus 2.3 total EPA, plus 0.33 per target. Smith's 43 YAC and 3.9 yards of separation indicate efficiency in short zones, though he contributes less explosiveness after the catch. His consistency and timing-based designs makes him a valuable complement to Metcalf's vertical and YAC-heavy impact. Among depth contributors, Connor Hayward remains a situational safety valve, catching his lone target, 100% catch rate, plus 26.1% CROE, on limited usage, 4 routes. Pat Freiermuth provides steady intermediate reliability, catching 75% of 8 targets with plus 9.9% CROE, but recording minus 1.9 total EPA, minus 0.24 per target. His positive YAC plus 5, YAC-OE, and tight window success highlight short area efficiency even in low explosive roles. Calvin Austin III, however, continues to struggle with timing and connection. Despite strong spacing, 3.4 yards average separation, on 37 routes and 6 targets, his 50% catch rate, negative 14.5% CROE, and negative 6.8 EPA, minus 1.13 per target, suggest breakdowns in vertical timing and ball placement. The underutilized or inefficient group includes Darnell Washington, minus 0.3 EPA on 17 routes, Scott Miller, minus 1.3 EPA, only 0.8 yards of average separation, and Roman Wilson, who logged no targets on 16 routes. Running backs Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell had negligible involvement in off-coverage routes, primarily serving as flat or motion decoys. Tactical observations. Metcalf's dominance reflects the Steelers' design philosophy against soft coverage, isolating him on quick break routes, slants, digs, and hitches to capitalize on YAC. The tight end trio of Smith, Freiermuth, and Hayward dominates short and intermediate zones, functioning as reliable countermeasures to blitzes and zone drops. Secondary wideouts, particularly Austin and Miller, have struggled to translate separation into EPA efficiency, which has slightly limited Pittsburgh's overall consistency in off-coverage matchups. Notably, positive CROE trends for Metcalf, Freiermuth, and Hayward indicate sharp quarterback accuracy and disciplined route execution against zone spacing. Steelers receivers versus press coverage through Week 5, 2025. Under press coverage, The Steelers' target distribution remains concentrated, with DK Metcalf again leading production. Across 16 targets, he generated plus 10.5 receiving EPA, plus 0.66 per target, ranking first on the team. Despite only 2.0 yards of average separation and a 50% catch rate, his plus 73 YACOE and 111 YAC show elite post-catch power and tight window resilience, winning 37.5% of contested opportunities. Jonnu Smith followed with 5 targets for plus 1.4 EPA plus 0.28 per target, leveraging quick outs and option routes to maintain a 60% catch rate. Calvin Austin III provided vertical spacing with 42.9% deep targets and a strong 57.1% target win rate, though efficiency lagged at plus 0.15 EPA per target. Darnell Washington and Kenneth Gainwell added minor but effective contributions, both posting 100% catch rates and positive EPA on limited touches. Depth options such as Pat Freiermuth, Scott Miller, and Roman Wilson recorded no press targets, while Ben Skowronek struggled on his lone opportunity, negative 0.9 EPA. Overall, Pittsburgh's press production framework remains driven by Metcalf's physicality and Smith's spacing, with Austin acting as the vertical stressor. Team-wide, YAC efficiency and deep targeting, 25 to 40% rate among key receivers, offset limited route separation, producing a vertical-leaning passing identity. Slot alignment metrics through Week 5. When aligned in the slot, the Steelers' production becomes even more defined by efficiency and leverage creation. DK Metcalf once again leads the group, posting plus 11.1 total EPA and plus 2.77 EPA per target, both team highs on perfect catch efficiency, 100%, and plus 71 YACOE. His 3.3 yards of separation and short-to-mid slot deployment, 5.3 air yards per target, emphasize precision and controlled dominance rather than vertical aggression. Jonnu Smith excels as a complementary interior option, with plus 3.9 EPA, plus 0.49 EPA per target, and a plus 14.2% CROE, reinforcing his reliability as a short-yardage outlet. Ben Skowronek and Darnell Washington contribute situational impact. Skowronek's single target generated plus 2.73 EPA, while Washington produced plus 2.2 EPA, plus 1.09 per target with strong post-contact success, plus 8 YACOE. Calvin Austin III, however, represents the volatility in Pittsburgh's slot production. While he recorded 13.8 air yards per target and a 69.2% target win rate, his minus 5.0 EPA and minus 5.8% CROE reflect inconsistency in vertical slot execution. Tight ends, Pat Freiermuth, minus 4.9 EPA, and Kenneth Gainwell, minus 3.1 EPA, both show low per-target efficiency despite decent YAC figures, suggesting that short passes to these players yield minimal net EPA gain. Jaylen Warren and Scott Miller each added minor, unproductive volume with negligible separation and YAC, positional insights and comparison. The Steelers' heavy slot personnel usage, particularly involving multiple tight ends, indicates a deliberate structural adjustment under the new offensive system. Smith, Washington, and Freiermuth handle much of the inside volume, while Metcalf's motion-based slot alignments exploit mismatches and neutralize press coverage. Austin's deep slot presence stretches coverage vertically, but introduces high variance. Comparing slot versus press performance, Metcalf shows slightly higher efficiency from the slot, plus 11.1 versus, plus 10.5 EPA, while Smith's production also rises significantly, plus 3.9 versus, plus 1.4. In contrast, Austin's deep slot usage reduces efficiency despite more vertical targets. Washington benefits moderately from slot usage, and both Freiermuth and Gainwell show declines inside, reflecting reduced synergy with the quarterback. Overall takeaway: DK Metcalf remains the offense's slot and press-proof cornerstone. Equally dominant inside and outside, blending elite power after the catch with disciplined short-area precision. Jonnu Smith complements him as a dependable underneath separator, while Darnell Washington adds short yardage stability, and Calvin Austin III stretches defenses vertically. However, inconsistent slot performance from Freiermuth and Gainwell slightly dampens overall efficiency. Structurally, the data indicates Pittsburgh's offense is evolving toward motion-heavy, multi-tight end formations that isolate Metcalf and Smith in high-percentage man coverage mismatches, while using Austin to threaten deep seams and maintain vertical spacing. The combination of YC-driven efficiency, tight end reliability, and adaptive slot deployment defines the Steelers' 2025 passing identity. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 receiving breakdown by alignment and coverage type through Week 5 provides a comprehensive view of how each receiver performs from wide slot and press alignments. The data confirms that this offense revolves around versatility, alignment flexibility, and efficient spacing, anchored by DK Metcalf's elite multi-context impact. Wide alignment performance. DK Metcalf remains the dominant force in wide alignment, leading the team with 27 targets, 25.5% share, and plus 11.0 total receiving expected points added, EPA, averaging plus 0.41 per target. He posted a 55.6% catch rate with a negative 2.2% catch rate over expected, CROE, 135 yards after catch, IYAC, and plus 59 yards after catch over expected, SOTIKE, YEACE. With an average of 2.3 yards of separation and 9.5 air yards per target, Metcalf continues to thrive as an isolation receiver. Calvin Austin III complements him as a deep outlet, posting plus 1.02 EPA per target on limited volume, with 15.2 air yards per target, showcasing vertical acceleration even with limited efficiency. Tight end Darnell Washington adds value as a versatile wide blocker and outlet receiver plus 1.24 EPA per target, 100% catch rate, while Jonnu Smith, 0.12 EPA per target, and Roman Wilson, 0.17, struggle to find efficiency outside. Overall, the wide set provides the team's most explosive yardage potential but relies heavily on Metcalf's production. Slot alignment performance. From the slot, the Steelers operate with greater precision and efficiency per target. Metcalf remains dominant, producing plus 11.1 receiving EPA and plus 2.77 EPA per target, with a perfect 100% catch rate and plus 71 YACOI. His average separation of 3.3 yards and 5.3 air yards per target confirm his ability to win both with quickness and physicality inside. Jonnu Smith continues to excel as a short yardage weapon, totaling plus 3.9 EPA with perfect efficiency, plus 14.2% CROE, and plus 0.49 EPA per target. Darnell Washington adds another layer of reliability, contributing plus 2.2 EPA per target with 100% efficiency and plus 8 YACOE. In contrast, Pat Freiermuth minus 4.9 EPA and Calvin Austin 3 minus 5.0 EPA show declining efficiency in this role, each posting negative EPA per target, despite solid separation. The slot structure favors precision timing and YAC-heavy concepts, particularly for Metcalf and Smith. Press coverage performance. Under press coverage, Pittsburgh's top receivers continue to deliver positive results. Metcalf's production remains elite, plus 10.5 receiving EPA, plus 0.66 EPA per target, and plus 73 YACOE, all while maintaining physicality through contact. Despite only 2.0 yards of average separation, his ability to win 37.5% of tight window targets defines him as the Steelers' press-proof weapon. Jonnu Smith plus 1.4 EPA offers steady intermediate success, while Austin plus 1.1 EPA shows flashes of vertical explosiveness despite limited efficiency. Washington remains perfect on targets plus 0.38 EPA per target, plus 18.8% CROE, confirming his consistency in short and red zone areas. Collectively, Pittsburgh's press coverage metrics indicate significant improvement in release timing and technique compared to prior seasons. Comparative analysis by player. DK Metcalf is the central offensive engine. From wide alignments, he provides steady chunk gains and physical isolation value, plus 11.0 EPA, while his slot deployment unlocks the offense's most efficient form, plus 2.77 EPA per target, and plus 71 YACOE. Against press, he sustains elite production despite reduced separation, showcasing complete receiver versatility. Calvin Austin III functions as the vertical stretch specialist, most effective outside plus 1.02 EPA per target and 15.2 air yards per target. However, his slot usage remains volatile, negative 0.39 EPA per target, due to limited accuracy and timing on in-breaking routes. Darnell Washington has quietly emerged as an efficiency model, generating steady positive EPA both outside plus 1.24 and inside plus 1.09, while maintaining perfect catch rates, an ideal short yardage and red zone tight end. Jonnu Smith thrives in slot alignments plus 3.9 EPA, benefiting from quick drags and pivots, but struggles when moved wide minus 0.5 EPA, where tighter stems reduce his space to separate. Pat Freiermuth, meanwhile, has declined as an interior option, posting negative 4.9 EPA from the slot, despite a positive CROE, signaling that short completions are yielding minimal value. Team-wide alignment trends. When broken down by overall alignment, the Steelers' total receiving EPA is highest from wide sets plus 14.9, followed by press plus 13.8 and slot plus 8.8. However, slot alignments deliver the most efficiency per target plus 0.28 EPA versus plus 0.54 wide, largely due to accuracy, controlled routes, and yards after catch. The team averages 80.6% catch rate from the slot, 65.8% wide, and 63.2% versus press. Average separation remains balanced at 2.8 yards from both wide and slot alignments, but dips slightly to 2.2 yards against press. Deep target rates rise progressively, 8.3% from the slot, 17.6% from wide, and 21.0% against press, highlighting how the Steelers expand vertically when confronted with tighter coverage. Interpretation and takeaways. The Steelers' passing structure gains its highest total EPA from wide alignments, driven primarily by Metcalf's outside dominance and Austin's vertical spacing. Slot formations, while less voluminous, provide higher per-target efficiency thanks to accurate timing and YAC opportunities. Press coverage performance remains solid, indicating significant growth in route discipline and release mechanics compared to 2024. Overall, DK Metcalf defines the Steelers' offensive identity, the dual-threat slot and isolation cornerstone responsible for roughly 45% of the team's total EPA. Calvin Austin III should see more wide alignment snaps, where his acceleration and deep separation create higher value. Jonnu Smith and Darnell Washington complement the system as efficient tight end mismatches. Smith as the underneath separator, Washington as the reliable seam and red zone target. Pat Freiermuth and Kenneth Gainwell showed declining value in interior alignments, suggesting the need for schematic adjustments toward vertical tight end usage. Against press, only Metcalf and Austin consistently separate, giving Pittsburgh dependable man-beating options that have transformed their 2025 passing game into a more complete and matchup-resilient unit. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 short area receiving analysis, throws under 10 air yards through Week 5, highlights an offense that has transformed short passing into a source of explosive efficiency. Rather than functioning as a conservative outlet, Pittsburgh's short game design now drives positive expected points added, EPA, and field control through motion, precision, and yards after catch generation. Short area receiving efficiency overview. DK Metcalf leads the group as the league's premier short route weapon, producing plus 22.1 total receiving EPA on short throws alone. His plus 0.71 EPA per target and plus 130 wide YAC over expected EEACOE illustrate elite strength and balance after the catch, as he consistently turns high-volume quick passes into big gains. Despite tight coverage, averaging just 2.4 yards of separation, he converts 61.3% of his targets and wins over one-third of contested opportunities, 35.5%. Metcalf's short game efficiency, 2.6 yards per route, reflects a receiver who thrives on slants, hitches, and crossers, blending physicality with controlled aggression. Running back Jaylen Warren ranks second in efficiency, functioning as a reliable chain mover and outlet receiver. His 92.9% catch rate, plus 65 YACOE, and plus 0.53 EPA per target mimic the short pass impact of an early career Austin Ekeler. Used frequently on screens and angle routes, Warren generates consistent positive EPA from checkdowns that keep drives alive. Tight end Darnell Washington adds another productive layer, posting plus 0.54 EPA per target with plus 13 YACOE across 9 targets. His 3.4 yards of separation and dependable hands make him an efficient situational outlet and red zone contributor. Jonnu Smith offers steady, low-risk production as a checkdown and drag route specialist. He maintains an 85% catch rate, but posts limited after-catch efficiency, minus 12 YACOE, reflecting his role as a security blanket rather than a breakaway threat. Meanwhile, Connor Hayward and Ben Skowronek provide small sample positives, each exceeding plus 0.9 EPA per target in limited opportunities. Calvin Austin III, used on low-depth routes that undercut his vertical strengths, produced nearly neutral efficiency, plus 0.02 EPA per target. Conversely, Pat Freiermuth and Kenneth Gainwell hurt overall efficiency, with negative EPA figures that suggest checkdowns and flat routes failing to advance drives, especially Gainwell's minus 13.4 total EPA despite an 86.4% catch rate. Team-level efficiency trends. As a unit, the Steelers' short pass game generates plus 0.37 EPA per target, well above the league average of approximately plus 0.05. Their 78.5% team catch rate exceeds the NFL norm by more than 8 percentage points, while their total YAC over expected of plus 172 demonstrates that Pittsburgh's receivers excel at creating post-catch yardage. Average separation across short routes, 3.2 yards, matches league standards, but what differentiates this offense is its YAC-driven explosiveness. The Steelers' short game system now prioritizes motion, spacing, and quick rhythm, transforming conservative designs into high-efficiency plays that stretch defenses horizontally. Player role context and identity. Metcalf remains the short area alpha, defined by YAC-powered dominance and toughness. Warren complements him as a backfield receiving weapon, maintaining efficiency on every touch. Washington continues to emerge as an efficient secondary tight end and short yardage chain mover, while Smith thrives in controlled interior space as a dependable inside outlet. Austin's best role lies outside as a vertical separator, not as a shallow receiver, and Freiermuth's low-impact slot work suggests diminishing value in short zones. Overall takeaways. The Steelers' short pass system. Metcalf's YAC dominance sets the foundation for the passing offense. His short route EPA plus 22.1 alone rivals that of entire teams. Warren and Washington stabilize short game efficiency, providing quarterback-friendly options that consistently produce positive EPA. Tight ends deliver structure, though Washington is the only one converting volume into above-average gains. Pittsburgh's evolution toward a motion-heavy, high-percentage short-passing scheme has redefined its offensive identity, turning checkdowns into dynamic plays that sustain drives. Context across route depths. When combining short, intermediate, and deep passing data, Pittsburgh's offensive identity crystallizes around layered efficiency. In intermediate routes, 10 to 19 air yards, Metcalf continues to dominate with plus 8.8 EPA and plus 56 YACO, showing that his short game precision extends vertically when given time to develop routes. Tight ends like Washington, plus 2.0 EPA, and Smith, plus 1.9 EPA, remain valuable mid-zone complements, while Austin contributes situationally, plus 1.4 EPA through deep cross concepts. On deep throws, 20-plus yards, Metcalf remains productive, plus 3.5 EPA, plus 0.69 per target, even when tightly covered, reinforcing his ability to win in contested scenarios. Austin's deep route involvement continues, but with inefficiency, negative 1.3 EPA, as defenders key in on his speed. Integrated efficiency takeaways. Metcalf remains the multi-layered centerpiece, a possession receiver, YAC threat, and vertical finisher all in one. Austin functions as the high-variance field stretcher, Warren as the efficient outlet engine, and the tight ends, Smith and Washington, as the structural glue of the offense. The Steelers' passing game is built around tight window precision and physical separation after contact, rather than raw spacing. Intermediate efficiency drives their consistency, while short-area YAC production supplies their explosiveness. In summary, the 2025 Steelers have transformed their short passing attack into one of the NFL's most efficient systems. Through a combination of route precision, motion manipulation, and YAC generation from Metcalf and Warren, the team consistently turns short completions into high-value plays. Their intermediate passing game offers stability, their deep game selective explosiveness, and their short area precision has become a defining strength. The hallmark of a rhythm-based, YAC-driven offense built for sustained efficiency. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 rushing efficiency profile integrates directional, situational, and player-based metrics from next-gen stats, providing a detailed comparison of Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren through Week 5. This analysis reveals a complementary rushing duo whose strengths align with different fronts and blocking structures, allowing the Steelers to adapt their ground game to the defensive look. Stacked box efficiency: 8 or more defenders. Against heavy, high-density fronts such as goal line and short yardage situations, Kenneth Gainwell has been the more efficient back. Across 12 carries, he gained 48 yards, 4.0 yards per carry, with plus 21 rushing yards over expected, RYOE, an average of plus 2.1 per attempt, and posted a 50% success rate. His ability to stay efficient despite compressed space and high defender counts demonstrates superior vision and timing. In contrast, Jaylen Warren has struggled in these scenarios, producing just 28 yards on 13 carries, 2.2 yards per carry, with plus 0.2 RYOE per attempt and a negative 0.28 expected points added per attempt. His 23% success rate in stacked situations indicates difficulty creating yards after contact and limited burst when lanes collapse. Light box efficiency: fewer than 7 defenders. When facing spread formations and lighter boxes, the results flip. Warren thrives in open fronts, averaging 5.7 yards per carry on 14 attempts with plus 19 RYOE, plus 1.3 per attempt, and plus 4.5 total EPA, plus 0.32 per attempt. His 78.6% success rate shows decisive, burst-driven efficiency on draws and RPO handoffs. Gainwell, meanwhile, is less effective under these conditions. On 22 carries, he averages 4.4 yards per attempt, but only plus 0.2 RYOE per carry and minus 0.13 EPA per attempt. His 54.5% success rate and limited breakaway gains suggest fewer explosive outcomes, indicating that his style fits tighter, structured fronts rather than open space runs. Inside versus outside directional splits. Inside the tackles, Warren again holds the advantage. On 30 carries, he gained 117 yards, 3.9 yards per attempt, with plus 0.1 RYOE per attempt and plus 0.08 EPA per carry, converting 53% of attempts successfully. He runs decisively downhill with low pad level, ideally suited to inside zone and power schemes. Gainwell's 13 inside attempts produced 46 yards, 3.5 yards per carry, and negative RYOE minus 0.1 per attempt, confirming that interior power runs minimize his advantages in speed and vision. Conversely, outside the tackles, Gainwell's skill set shines. Across 28 edge carries, he gained 130 yards, 4.6 per attempt, with plus 1.2 RYOE per carry and a 57.1% success rate. His ability to read cutback lanes and leverage perimeter blocks makes him Pittsburgh's best outside zone weapon. Warren's 24 outside attempts yielded only 67 yards, 2.8 per attempt, and negative RYOE, negative 0.3 per attempt, reflecting less lateral agility and weaker results on stretch concepts. Overall, rushing efficiency. In total production, Gainwell has 41 carries for 176 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, with plus 31 RYOE, plus 0.8 per attempt, and a 51% success rate. Warren's 54 attempts have yielded 184 yards, 3.4 per carry, with negative 3 RYOE and a 44% success rate. Despite nearly identical EPA per attempt, negative 0.08 for Gainwell, negative 0.07 for Warren. Gainwell creates more above-expected yardage and maintains higher situational efficiency, while Warren relies more on volume and favorable fronts. Contextual summary by box count and direction. When comparing specific splits, the contrast is clear. Inside the tackles, Warren's positive EPA and consistency, 53% success, make him the better option, particularly in light boxes. Outside, Gainwell's explosiveness and lateral vision generate superior RYOE, plus 1.2 per attempt, and success 57%, positioning him as the team's premier edge runner. Against light boxes, Warren's efficiency plus 0.32 EPA per attempt far exceeds Gainwell's, while in stacked formations, Gainwell is markedly more productive, plus 2.1 RYOE per attempt and 50% success. Comprehensive efficiency comparison. Gainwell leads in most per-carry metrics, 4.3 yards per carry, plus 31 RYOE, and a 51% success rate. Warren's advantage lies in light box and inside zone efficiency, where he converts at a high rate and sustains drives through contact. In contrast, Gainwell's performance improves when the defense compresses or forces him to read flow laterally, excelling on outside zone, toss, and counter plays. Tactical profiles and strategic implications. Kenneth Gainwell profiles as an edge-oriented, vision-based back who thrives on perimeter designs, motion runs, and short yardage scenarios where acceleration and cutback vision are key. He's the ideal fit for tosses, power counters, and red zone schemes requiring quick decision-making in tight quarters. Jaylen Warren functions as a downhill, gap-to-zone interior back, best utilized in spread formations, inside zones, and RPO sequences against light fronts. His burst through narrow lanes and decisive cut style make him reliable on early downs, but less so in crowded boxes or perimeter runs. Conclusion: complementary backfield design. The 2025 Steelers have constructed a balanced rushing tandem where Gainwell and Warren serve distinct yet synergistic purposes. Warren provides early down efficiency and inside consistency against lighter defensive boxes, while Gainwell offers perimeter explosiveness and situational power when the field condenses. Together, they give Pittsburgh the flexibility to tailor its ground game to defensive structure. Warren attacks space, and Gainwell exploits leverage. This dual-threat balance, Warren's inside dependability paired with Gainwell's edge dynamism, forms a versatile, matchup-responsive rushing scheme that enhances both situational play calling and overall offensive rhythm. Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, 2025, Weeks 1 to 5. Through 5 games, Aaron Rodgers has delivered slightly above average efficiency in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, producing plus 0.04 expected points added per dropback, EPA/DB, and a plus 2.5% completion percentage over expected, CPOE. His passing rhythm is notably quick, with an average time to throw of 2.57 seconds, and his aggressiveness is moderate, averaging 5.4 air yards per attempt. The Steelers utilize play action on 26.5% of dropbacks, leaning on a timing-based system with moderate downfield intent and an emphasis on intermediate structure. Performance under pressure. Pressure defines the boundaries of Rodgers' effectiveness. When kept clean, he's elite, completing 77.4% of passes and generating plus 0.28 EPA per dropback. His rapid release, 2.32 seconds, and strong route spacing, average separation 3.6 yards, sustain rhythm and drive efficiency. However, The moment pressure arrives, production collapses. Under duress, Rodgers' completion rate drops to 40.6%, and his efficiency plummets to negative 0.58 EPA per dropback. His air yards expand to 8.0 per attempt, indicating forced deeper throws, while separation tightens to 2.9 yards, and turnover-worthy plays spike to 21.9%. The conclusion is clear. Rodgers thrives on structure and early rhythm. Once plays extend and pressure arrives, negative outcomes dominate. Blitz situations. Against the blitz, Rodgers performs better than against standard rushes, with plus 0.06 EPA per dropback and a plus 3.6% CPOE. His average target depth increases to 6.0 air yards per attempt, and play-action usage rises to 41.3%, showing how Pittsburgh exploits aggressive fronts with motion and route manipulation. The offense leverages vacated zones and single coverage mismatches effectively, meaning defensive coordinators blitzing frequently gain little advantage. The key distinction is that Rodgers struggles with true pressure, not the blitz concept itself. When the rush gets home, efficiency collapses regardless of scheme. Timing and rhythm. Rodgers' time-to-throw split underscores the offense's identity. When he releases the ball in under 2.5 seconds, results are elite. Plus 0.33 EPA per dropback, 81.1% completion rate, and a minimal 8.1% pressure rate. In contrast, throws extending past 2.5 seconds yield negative 0.26 EPA per dropback, and a surge in pressure to 47.9%. The takeaway is simple. The quick game is the Steelers' efficiency engine. Rhythm passing, rapid reads, and structured concepts produce steady value, while prolonged reads invite defensive disruption. Depth-based trends. Rodgers' depth map reveals a clear hierarchy. On short throws, under 10 air yards, he's steady and efficient, plus 0.05 EPA per DB with wide spacing 3.9 yards of separation and minimal risk 12.3% tight window rate. Intermediate passes, 10 to 19 yards, offer the most explosive returns, averaging plus 0.44 EPA per dropback and 14.6 air yards per attempt. The sweet spot of the offense's vertical layer. Deep shots, 20-plus yards, remain situationally useful, generating plus 0.09 EPA per DB, but with accuracy issues. 30% completion rate, minus 9.2% CPOE, and tight windows, 40% of throws contested. These plays succeed best when kept within rhythm and protection stability. Strategic implications. Offensively, the Steelers should continue emphasizing the quick game. Spacing routes, run-pass options, RPOs, stick and choice concepts, and quick slants or daggers that keep Rodgers under 2.5 seconds. Intermediate play-action crossers and overs remain the highest value targets, provided protection holds. To mitigate pressure, Pittsburgh must refine four-man protection schemes using slides, chip blocks, and running back scan rules to maintain interior integrity. Defensively, the counter-strategy is clear. Avoid blitzing frequently and instead rely on disciplined four-man rushes that compress space and force Rodgers into extended reads. Defenses should sit on quick breaking routes, limit yards after catch, and challenge intermediate windows, the most efficient zone in Pittsburgh's passing map, by maintaining deep safety leverage and constricting crosser lanes. Overall, Aaron Rodgers' early season tape with Pittsburgh paints a precise picture. Structure and timing produce elite results, while breakdowns under pressure or delayed reads turn efficient drives into stalled possessions. Pittsburgh Steelers, long and mid-yardage passing overview through Week 5, 2025. Through 5 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers' passing offense in long-yardage situations has been situationally effective, but rarely explosive. Across 199 total attempts, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers average a 59.3% completion rate and 158.4 passing yards per game, producing 6.7 yards per pass play and 5 total touchdowns. While these numbers reflect moderate volume and steady production, efficiency remains neutral with a plus 0.02 expected points added per pass, indicating a controlled, timing-based passing design that sustains drives rather than producing deep-field explosives. Efficiency, timing, and protection. Rodgers' quick rhythm is a defining trait in these scenarios, averaging 2.54 seconds to throw, a mark suggesting rapid decision-making and a short to intermediate passing focus. Protection has held up well under long-yardage stress, with only 7 sacks, 5.9% sack rate, and pressures on roughly 1 in every 4 dropbacks, 25.8%. The offensive line's 2.83 seconds to pressure ranks around league average, showing functional stability against elevated blitz rates. Defenses have sent extra rushers on nearly 30% of these plays, prompting Pittsburgh to counter with play action on 26.3% of dropbacks, an intentional effort to manipulate linebackers and disguise intent. Yards after catch and separation. What Pittsburgh lacks in raw downfield explosiveness, it makes up for in post-catch production. The Steelers have generated 629 total yards after catch, IYAC, including plus 189 yards after catch over expected, EIACOE, an excellent figure that underscores receiver separation and open field creativity. With an average of 3.5 yards of separation per route, Pittsburgh's pass catchers consistently create space, sustaining drives through quick-hitting, schemed routes rather than deep isolation shots. Analytical summary: long-yardage identity. The Steelers' long-yardage formula blends rhythm passing and spatial discipline. Quick releases limit sack exposure, YAC efficiency drives positive play outcomes, and play-action integration helps keep defenses honest. This system relies on receivers winning early in routes and maximizing post-catch yards, a hallmark of a timing-oriented offense built around structure and precision. The result is an offense that converts difficult down-and-distance situations not through deep strikes, but through cohesion and efficiency. Mid-yardage passing, 3 to 6 yards to go. In medium down situations, Pittsburgh continues to show balance but modest results. The team passes on 51.2% of plays in this range, averaging 22.4 passing yards per game and 5.1 yards per attempt. While this reflects a deliberate approach to sustained drives, the expected points added per pass drops to negative 0.07, indicating below-average efficiency for this distance range. Pressure and defensive aggression. Rodgers' time to throw increases slightly to 2.74 seconds in mid-yardage downs, signaling a mix of quick reads and layered progressions. However, protection is more vulnerable here. 2 sacks, 9.1% sack rate, and pressures on 41.7% of dropbacks highlight frequent disruption. Opposing defenses blitz on 45.5% of these plays, forcing Rodgers to operate within narrow timing windows and compressing route development. Production and YAC trends. The Steelers have recorded 79 yards after catch in these scenarios, but sit below expected output, minus 12 YACOE, suggesting defenses are closing quickly and tackling efficiently. Receiver separation remains solid at 3.4 yards, yet it translates into shorter completions and minimal post-catch gains. Play action is used on 18.2% of dropbacks, which may be underutilized given the heavy blitz exposure. Strategic interpretation. Pittsburgh's mid-yardage passing game is functional but inefficient. A control-oriented operation that survives on volume and timing rather than high-impact plays. Negative EPA and constrained YAC indicate that defenses are anticipating routes and limiting space. Despite that, the offense avoids catastrophic losses, using quick progressions and short throws to maintain drive stability. The takeaway is that while Pittsburgh remains structurally sound, improving mid-yardage play-action usage and enhancing post-catch explosiveness will be key to transforming functional efficiency into sustained offensive momentum. Overall summary. Across both long and mid-yardage situations, the Steelers' passing offense under Aaron Rodgers displays rhythm, precision, and composure under pressure. It is not built for explosive vertical plays, but rather for controlled aggression, using timing, protection discipline, and after-catch execution to stay on schedule. When successful, Pittsburgh converts potential drive-killing downs into manageable opportunities, reflecting a veteran quarterback's mastery of structure and situational football. Pittsburgh Steelers, mid-yardage and long-yardage offensive analysis through Week 6, 2025. The Steelers' mid-yardage rushing offense has struggled to establish efficiency or consistency through 6 weeks of the 2025 season. Out of 43 total plays in mid-yardage situations, 21 have been runs, representing a 48.8% run rate. These rushes have produced just 11.6 yards per game and 2.8 yards per attempt, well below league average for this down and distance range. Expected points added per rush, negative 0.28, confirms that each carry slightly reduces overall drive value. The offense has managed just 1 rushing touchdown and 1 run of 10 or more yards, a 4.7% explosive rate, but their stuffed rate sits at 14.3%, slightly better than the league average of 18 to 20%. Despite modest surface numbers, underlying efficiency indicators reinforce the struggles. The team's total rushing EPA stands at -5.8 with a success rate of only 38.1%, falling short of the 45% benchmark typically considered functional in mid-yardage situations. Rushing yards over expected, RIOE, sits at -6 overall, or -0.3 per attempt, highlighting an inability to create positive value beyond blocking. The offensive line has been a limiting factor, generating just 0.11 yards before contact per attempt, among the lowest in the league, leaving ball carriers to rely heavily on their own effort to gain yards. Fortunately, runners have managed 2.65 yards after contact per attempt, showing decent toughness once hit. In terms of design, the Steelers' mid-yardage rushing tendencies skew slightly outside, with 57.1% of attempts directed toward the perimeter and 42.9% inside. Defenses have responded aggressively, stacking the box on 23.8% of these plays, a high rate that suggests clear run predictability on early down calls. Light box fronts appear on only 38.1% of mid-yard rushes, indicating that opponents anticipate Pittsburgh's ground calls and align accordingly. Overall, Pittsburgh's mid-yardage rushing game has been inefficient and predictable. The lack of push from the offensive line forces runners to create post-contact yardage on nearly every attempt. While the team avoids catastrophic losses, the consistent negative EPA indicates that these plays rarely advance drives meaningfully. The offense's tendency to lean into runs against stacked boxes compounds inefficiency, making this phase of their attack a weak link in otherwise situationally stable play calling. Long-Yardage Offensive Overview, 7+ yards to go. Through 5 games of the 2025 regular season, the Steelers have run 199 total plays in long-yardage situations, favoring the pass at a 59.3% rate, 118 passes to 81 runs. In these sequences, Pittsburgh averages 23.8 points per game and 218.2 total yards, placing them in the lower middle range league-wide for sustained offensive production when behind the chains. Efficiency metrics reflect a methodical but limited approach. The offense averages 5.5 yards per play and 218.2 total yards per game on long downs, while expected points added per play sits at negative 0.02, effectively neutral. Passing accounts for most of this yardage, producing 158.4 yards per game and 6.7 yards per pass play. These figures indicate respectable intermediate efficiency, but limited explosiveness, as most completions occur short of the sticks. Rodgers' quick release, averaging 2.54 seconds to throw, helps mitigate risk and maintain timing against predictable pressure looks. The quarterback has been pressured on 25.8% of dropbacks, 31 total pressures across 5 games. A manageable rate considering the situational difficulty. The running game remains secondary in these contexts. Pittsburgh averages 59.8 rushing yards per game and 3.7 yards per carry on long downs, with an expected points added per rush of negative 0.08, meaning these plays generally decrease offensive value. Most runs are draws or counters designed to catch defenses off guard, but opponents typically anticipate pass-heavy tendencies, neutralizing the surprise factor. In sum, the Steelers' long-yardage offense reflects a structured, pass-centric philosophy that prioritizes mistake avoidance and timing precision over vertical aggression. Passing efficiency slightly outweighs rushing inefficiency, producing a net EPA near 0. Quick throws, short area spacing, and intermediate route concepts form the core of this approach, limiting negative plays but rarely generating explosive ones. To improve long-yardage conversions, Pittsburgh could benefit from integrating more vertical route concepts, layered play-action designs, and motion-based misdirection. These additions would force defenses to honor deeper zones and potentially open up the middle field windows that Rodgers thrives on. Currently, the Steelers' offense is cohesive and disciplined, but capped by its conservative rhythm. A system that sustains drives efficiently, yet seldom changes the scoreboard through explosive plays. This analysis reviews 5 NFL next-gen stats passing charts, representing Jalen Hurts, Joe Flacco, Jake Browning, Michael Penix Jr., and Caleb Williams, along with a coverage zone reference map. The data allows throws to be categorized into defined defensive areas: swing, flat, curl, hook, hole, and deep third or half. Each quarterback's chart was analyzed against the Minnesota Vikings defense, focusing on target distribution, zone efficiency, and how effectively each passer exploited coverage tendencies. Jalen Hurts versus Vikings. Hurts completed 23 of 38 passes for 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions, producing a completion percentage over expected, CPOE, of plus 2.4%. He showed strong volume in short and flat zones, especially on the left side, with several completions behind the line of scrimmage through running back and tight end checkdowns. In the curl and hook areas, Hurts was productive on intermediate routes from 5 to 15 yards. He also completed 2 passes for touchdowns in the right deep third and deep middle, showing confidence and anticipation. Hurts attacked the curl-hook hole triangle with precision, often exploiting the Vikings' hybrid, cover 2/3 looks, which left a vulnerable seam between safeties. His greatest strength was the intermediate and deep middle zones, and he displayed few weaknesses across any region of the field. Joe Flacco versus Vikings. Flacco completed 16 of 34 passes for 184 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, finishing with a CPOE of -7.7%. He found moderate success on checkdowns to both sides, but produced few yards after the catch. The curl and hook zones proved costly, as both interceptions occurred there due to linebackers dropping under routes. His deep attempts, especially to the right boundary, were largely inaccurate, and he failed to complete throws into the middle hole zone. The Vikings' zone drop cover 3 match scheme created confusion for Flacco, who struggled with late timing and poor accuracy outside the hashes. His limited strength came on short right-side checkdowns, while his biggest weaknesses were the middle hook zones and deep thirds, where turnovers and inefficiency were concentrated. Jake Browning versus Vikings. Browning completed 19 of 27 passes for 140 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions, recording a CPOE of +1.2%. He completed a high number of short passes near the line of scrimmage, frequently targeting running backs and flats on both sides. In the hook and curl areas, he connected on a few short throws, but was intercepted twice on attempts over the middle. His lone touchdown came on a deep left throw of roughly 20 yards. Overall, Browning was efficient in horizontal passing but limited vertically. The Vikings compressed his passing lanes, and his errors stemmed from forcing throws into crowded inside zones. His strength was in the short sideline flats, while his weakness was clearly the short middle hooks, which produced turnovers. Michael Penix Jr. versus Vikings. Penix completed 13 of 21 passes for 135 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions, with a CPOE of -6.9%. He frequently completed short passes under 5 yards on both sides, but rarely stretched the field. Attempts in the curl and hook zones were inconsistent, and his 2 deep throws were incomplete. He largely avoided the hole and deep middle zones. Penix played conservatively, relying heavily on screens and flat throws, while the Vikings' too high safety shell forced him underneath. He applied little vertical pressure, allowing defenders to sit on short routes. His primary strength was quick short passes into the flats, while his weakness was a lack of vertical challenge, limiting explosive potential. Caleb Williams versus Vikings. Williams completed 21 of 35 passes for 210 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions, but posted a CPOE of -13.2%. He relied early on quick dump-offs and flat throws to both sides. In the curl and hook zones, he completed a few intermediate passes over the right middle, but missed several others. His lone touchdown came on a deep throw to the right middle hole between safeties. However, inconsistency plagued his intermediate seam attempts. Williams displayed aggressiveness, but also erratic accuracy and timing. The Vikings disguised coverage pre-snap, forcing hesitation and disrupting rhythm. His strength was the deep middle hole zone, while his weakness was timing and accuracy on intermediate curl and hook routes. Combined takeaways against the Vikings' defense. Across all quarterbacks, short swing and flat zones produced high completion rates but low yardage, reflecting the Vikings' strategy of conceding short passes while limiting yards after the catch. The curl and hook zones proved the most dangerous for opposing quarterbacks, resulting in interceptions for Flacco and Browning and off-target throws from Williams, demonstrating disciplined zone drops by the linebackers. The deep middle hole area was the only vertical weakness, successfully attacked by Hurts and Williams with well-timed seam throws. Deep third routes generally failed to produce consistent success, showing the Vikings' corners and safeties effectively contained boundary shots throughout these matchups. Pittsburgh Steelers, pass protection, long yardage rushing, and mid-yardage efficiency through Week 6, 2025. In long yardage passing situations, the Steelers' protection unit has performed solidly, managing to balance efficiency and structure under pressure. Pittsburgh has allowed 7 total sacks through 5 games, translating to a 5.9% sack rate, slightly above league average, but still respectable given the difficulty of long yardage downs. Quarterbacks have faced pressure on 25.8% of dropbacks, 31 total pressures, while defenses have blitzed on 29.7% of those plays, meaning nearly 1 in every 3 passing attempts encounters extra rushers. Despite this, the Steelers' quick-release approach, 2.54 seconds average time to throw, keeps the offense on schedule and prevents negative expected points added (EPA) outcomes. From a design standpoint, Pittsburgh's play calling shows strong integration of deception and after-catch production. Play action is used on 26.3% of long-yardage dropbacks, a moderately high rate that demonstrates a willingness to disguise intentions even when defenses expect the pass. The team's receivers have been highly effective once the ball is delivered, producing 629 total yards after catch, EAC, and an exceptional plus 189 yards after catch over expected, YACOE. This performance highlights the receiver's ability to separate, sustain drives, and create explosive gains after contact. Average receiver separation stands at 3.5 yards, a strong indicator that Pittsburgh's route concepts and timing are consistently beating deep coverage shells. Overall, the Steelers' long-yardage passing attack is efficient and balanced, thriving on timing-based short and intermediate concepts rather than deep, high-risk throws. The slightly positive plus 0.02 EPA per pass indicates sustainability even in low-probability situations. The combination of quick release, yak capability, and consistent separation allows the offense to neutralize blitzes and mitigate pass rush threats. Long yardage rushing context, 7+ yards to go. While Pittsburgh's long yardage offense leans pass-heavy, their commitment to the run remains notable. Out of 199 total plays in these situations, 81 have been runs, a 40.7% rush rate that reflects persistence even when the odds are unfavorable. The results, however, have been modest. The Steelers average 59.8 rushing yards per game on 3.7 yards per attempt, with a negative 0.08 EPA per rush and a 34.6% success rate. These numbers confirm that while the ground game adds variety, it struggles to generate positive drive value or explosive momentum. The rushing attack shows a pattern of physical effort compensating for blocking limitations. The Steelers have produced 10 explosive runs of 10 or more yards, 12.3% rate, with runners averaging just 0.57 yards before contact and 3.18 yards after contact. This imbalance underscores how most production stems from running back effort and contact balance rather than offensive line dominance. Their stuffed rate of 18.5% sits around league average, but the low EPA and total efficiency, negative 6.4 cumulative EPA, suggest these plays contribute little to extending drives. Advanced metrics reinforce this picture. Pittsburgh has recorded a modest plus 23 total rushing yards over expected plus 0.3 per attempt, a sign that ball carriers are slightly outperforming blocking quality. The distribution of defensive box looks shows 40.7% light boxes, 40.8% neutral, and only 18.5% stacked fronts, meaning the inefficiency isn't due to defensive overcommitment, but rather to play design and blocking execution. In essence, the long-yardage rushing phase is a low EPA, low explosiveness component that may serve to balance play calling and set up play action, but not to directly drive offensive success. Mid-yardage rushing profile, 3 to 6 yards to go. Through 6 weeks, the Steelers have logged 43 total mid-yardage plays, running the ball on 21 of them, 48.8% run rate. This segment of the offense has been inefficient, producing only 11.6 rushing yards per game and 2.8 yards per attempt. Expected points added per rush stands at minus 0.28, with a cumulative total of minus 5.8 EPA, confirming consistent drive inefficiency. The success rate of 38.1% also falls short of the 45% efficiency threshold needed for situational stability. Explosive production is nearly absent, with just one run of 10 or more yards recorded all season in these situations. The stuffed rate, however, is relatively low at 14.3%, implying that most plays gain something, just not enough to move the chains. Rushing yards over. Expected sits at minus 6 overall, minus 0.3 per attempt, reflecting struggles to outperform blocking expectations. Runners are met almost immediately after the handoff, averaging only 0.11 yards before contact, one of the lowest figures in the league, while gaining 2.65 yards after contact through individual effort. Pittsburgh's mid-yardage rushing distribution tilts slightly toward the edges, with 57.1% of attempts going outside and 42.9% inside. Defenses generally respect the pass in these situations, loading the box lightly 38.1% of the time and stacking it on 23.8% of snaps. Even so, the offense fails to exploit these lighter fronts due to limited blocking push and predictable run designs. In short, the Steelers' mid-yardage rushing game remains one of their least efficient offensive phases. Poor line surge, limited gap creation, and predictable play calling have forced runners to rely on contact balance rather than scheme-driven advantages. While the unit avoids catastrophic losses, the consistent negative EPA makes it a liability on drives. For Pittsburgh, mid-yardage downs, typically designed to maintain rhythm and set up conversions, have become low-return plays that stall momentum and place additional pressure on the passing game to recover value. Pittsburgh Steelers, mid-yardage passing analysis through Week 6, 2025. The Steelers' mid-yardage passing offense operates as a cautious, low-explosive unit built to sustain drives rather than generate large gains. Across 43 total pass attempts, the team has passed on 51.2% of its mid-yardage plays, averaging 22.4 passing yards per game and 5.1 yards per pass play. The passing attack has produced 4 touchdowns, but its expected points added per pass, negative 0.07, reflects slightly negative efficiency. In essence, the Steelers are completing enough throws to keep drives alive, but are not generating above-average field position or scoring value. From a protection and timing standpoint, the offense shows mixed results. The quarterback's average time to throw is 2.74 seconds, a reasonable figure that supports a rhythm-based passing structure. However, protection has been inconsistent. Pittsburgh has allowed 2 sacks, translating to a 9.1% sack rate, while pressures occur on 41.7% of dropbacks, 10 total. These numbers suggest that while the quarterback isn't holding the ball excessively long, the offensive line struggles to maintain clean pockets under defensive stress. Schematically, the Steelers lean toward straightforward design over heavy deception. Play action is used on only 18.2% of dropbacks, which limits opportunities to freeze linebackers or manipulate coverage. Defenses, recognizing this, have blitzed on 45.5% of passing plays, nearly half of all attempts, forcing quick reads and compressing route timing. Average receiver separation sits at 3.4 yards, a solid but unexceptional figure, while total yards after catch, (OYAC), reach 79, with a negative 12 yards after catch over expected, (IICOE). This indicates that while receivers are finding initial space, they are being quickly contained after the catch, reflecting either tight defensive pursuit or limited schemed room for run-after-catch potential. In summary, the Steelers' mid-yardage passing game is efficient enough to maintain drive structure but lacks explosive capacity or high-value output. The combination of moderate spacing, heavy defensive pressure, and limited YAC efficiency results in a compressed offensive ceiling. Pittsburgh's nearly even pass-run split, 51% pass rate, reflects a situationally conservative philosophy, designed to manage risk and stay on schedule, but not to attack downfield or stress defenses vertically. Pittsburgh Steelers, mid-yardage. Rushing efficiency and offense summary. Through Week 6, 2025. The Steelers' mid-yardage rushing production has been one of the least efficient components of their offense so far in 2025. On plays requiring 3 to 6 yards to convert, Pittsburgh averages just 11.6 rushing yards per game and 2.8 yards per attempt, both well below league average efficiency for this down-and-distance range. Each run attempt carries a negative expected points, added value of negative 0.28, meaning most mid-yardage carries decrease overall drive efficiency. Collectively, the team has posted a total rushing EPA of negative 5.8, indicating cumulative inefficiency when attempting to sustain drives through the ground game. Their success rate sits at 38.1%, showing that barely one-third of attempts generate positive expected outcomes. Explosiveness in this range is almost non-existent. The Steelers have recorded only one run of 10 or more yards all season in mid-yardage situations, and just 14.3% of their attempts have been stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. A decent figure, but overshadowed by their lack of chunk gains. Rushing yards over, expected, RYOE, stands at -6 in total, or -0.3 per attempt, which means the running backs are underperforming relative to blocking expectations. The offensive line has struggled to create initial space, producing only 0.11 yards before contact per attempt, one of the lowest marks in the league, forcing runners to rely heavily on individual effort after the hit. While backs average 2.65 yards after contact, that alone has not been enough to offset early defensive penetration. From a design standpoint, Pittsburgh's mid-yardage rushing tendencies show a slight preference for outside concepts, with 57.1% of carries directed to the edges and 42.9% run inside. Defenses typically respect the pass threat in these situations, presenting light boxes on 38.1% of runs, while stacked fronts occur on 23.8% of snaps. Even against lighter defensive fronts, however, the Steelers have struggled to capitalize, suggesting that blocking execution and predictable sequencing are greater limiting factors than defensive alignment. In summary, Pittsburgh's mid-yardage rushing game lacks efficiency, explosiveness, and structural advantage. The combination of minimal push at the line of scrimmage and reliance on post-contact yardage has made this phase of the offense heavily dependent on complementary concepts like play action or quick passing to stay on schedule. Across 5 games, The Steelers have generated 43 total mid-yardage plays, 3 to 6 yards to go, producing an overall average of 34.0 yards per game and 4.0 yards per play. These plays have resulted in 5 total touchdowns and contribute to an average of 23.8 points per game overall. While the unit provides modest, conservative production, it lacks the efficiency and consistency required to turn mid-range downs into sustained drives or explosive scoring opportunities. Pittsburgh Steelers' mid- and short-yardage offensive performance through Week 6, 2025. In mid-yardage situations, the Steelers' offense operates with balance but limited efficiency, producing modest gains without strong drive-sustaining consistency. Through 43 total mid-yardage plays, the team has passed on 51.2% of them, running on the remaining 48.8%. The passing game accounts for 22.4 yards per game and 5.1 yards per play, with a slightly negative expected points added per pass, negative 0.07. This profile indicates that while timing and rhythm remain adequate, reflected in an average time to throw of 2.74 seconds, the unit struggles to produce chain-moving or explosive outcomes. The rushing component has been less efficient, generating just 11.6 yards per game and 2.8 yards per carry, alongside a negative 0.28 expected points added per rush. These figures suggest inefficiency when running in moderate down-and-distance situations, typically the result of limited line surge or overly predictable play calling. Across both phases, the team posts an overall negative 0.17 EPA per play, approximately negative 7.3 total EPA from 43 plays, underscoring that neither the passing nor the rushing approach consistently creates positive value. The Steelers maintain a near-even split between runs and passes, reflecting situational balance, but limited success in converting manageable downs into sustained drives. Analytically, the mid-yardage offense ranks below average in per-play efficiency and displays a cautious, methodical approach. The passing game produces steady but low-impact results, while the rushing phase fails to meet situational expectations. This portion of the offense functions as a transitional zone, structured enough to avoid costly mistakes, but lacking dynamism to generate sustained scoring leverage. Improvement in this area will depend on more efficient early down success and quicker developing route concepts to boost passing EPA and reduce defensive predictability. In contrast, the Steelers' short yardage offense has been one of their most stable and efficient situational phases so far in 2025. Over 5 games, Pittsburgh has run 31 total plays in 1 to 2 yard situations, averaging 25.6 yards per game, 4.1 yards per play, and scoring 3 total touchdowns. Their average points per game, 23.8, within these scenarios highlights strong situational execution despite limited sample size. Play calling trends show a clear run-heavy identity, with 22 rushing attempts, 71% of plays, and 9 pass attempts, 29%. This ratio aligns with typical short yardage strategy, yet Pittsburgh complements its ground game with timely, high-efficiency passing. The passing attack has been particularly effective, averaging 13.0 yards per game, 7.2 yards per pass, and an impressive plus 0.44 expected points added per pass. These figures suggest that the Steelers leverage play action, quick reads, and timing-based routes to exploit defensive crowding near the line of scrimmage. Rushing in short yardage situations also delivers solid returns. The Steelers average 12.6 rushing yards per game and 2.9 yards per attempt, but most importantly, they post a plus 0.21 EPA per rush, indicating that their ground game consistently converts and sustains drives. This reflects confidence in their offensive line and running backs, with play designs built around power and leverage rather than misdirection. From a protection standpoint, Pittsburgh's execution remains sharp. The quarterback faces pressure on only 33.3% of short-yard attempts, 3 total pressures, and averages a quick 2.49 seconds to throw, ensuring plays stay on rhythm. The team has not allowed a single sack in these scenarios, emphasizing quick decision-making and effective blocking. Defenses rarely blitz, 11.1%, acknowledging the run threat, and Pittsburgh's 22.2% play-action rate adds just enough deception to maintain unpredictability. Receiver performance in short yardage also contributes to success. Steelers' pass catchers have generated 34 total yards after catch and plus 6 yards after catch over expected, showing efficient post-catch production despite tight coverage. Average separation sits at 2.7 yards, slightly below the league norm, but typical for compressed short yardage spaces. Overall, Pittsburgh's short yardage offense thrives on precision and balance. The combination of efficient power running plus 0.21 EPA per rush and strategically timed quick passing plus 0.44 EPA per pass makes this phase of the offense one of the team's most reliable tools for extending drives and finishing possessions. Their play design emphasizes clarity, quick timing, and conversion-focused execution. A sharp contrast to the inefficiency of their mid-yardage game, where balance exists but impact remains limited. Pittsburgh Steelers Short Yardage Rushing Analysis 2025 Regular Season through Week 5. Through 5 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers' short yardage rushing offense has emerged as one of the most efficient and physically resilient units in the league. Out of 31 total short yardage plays, the team has run the ball on 22 occasions, a 71.0% run rate that reflects their commitment to power football in tight spaces. These runs have produced 12.6 rushing yards per game and 2.9 yards per play, along with a strong plus 0.21 expected points added per rush. The Steelers have scored 2 rushing touchdowns in these situations, generated 1 explosive run of 10 or more yards, and maintained a success rate of 77.3%. Despite a 22.7% stuffed rate, their total rushing EPA sits at plus 4.5, signaling consistent positive value when running in short yardage contexts. Advanced metrics reinforce how Pittsburgh's ground game wins through effort and contact balance rather than line dominance. The team has accumulated plus 12 total rushing yards over expected, RYOE, or plus 0.6 per attempt, indicating that ball carriers are consistently exceeding projected outcomes. However, the offensive line's push remains minimal. The Steelers average only 0.09 yards before contact per attempt. This means nearly every gain is earned after initial defensive engagement. Fortunately, Pittsburgh's backs compensate with exceptional post-contact power, averaging 2.77 yards after contact per attempt, a testament to the physicality and drive of runners like Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Defensive fronts have consistently loaded up against the run, yet the Steelers continue to produce. Only 22.7% of short yardage rushes occur against light boxes, 6 or fewer defenders, while 31.8% face neutral boxes, 7 defenders. Most impressively, 45.5% of these attempts come against stacked boxes with 8 or more defenders. Yet Pittsburgh still maintains positive EPA in those situations. Their ability to sustain efficiency against heavy fronts underscores disciplined blocking execution, patient vision from the backs, and coordinated short yardage design. In summary, Pittsburgh's short yardage rushing unit combines physical running with situational precision. The offense generates nearly all of its gains after contact, but still manages elite conversion efficiency, driven by toughness and consistent decision-making. The combination of positive RYOE, low stuffed rates, and sustained EPA makes this one of the most dependable short yardage rushing groups in the NFL through the first 5 games of the 2025 season. Pittsburgh Steelers Overall Offensive Overview through Week 5, 2025. Through 5 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has demonstrated balanced play calling and controlled rhythm, but limited explosive output. The team has run 273 total plays, split between 54.6% passing and 45.4% rushing, averaging 23.8 points per game and 277.8 total yards per game. Each play yields an average of 5.1 yards, resulting in 13 total touchdowns so far this season. Their expected points added per play sits at negative 0.01, essentially neutral, which indicates an offense that moves the ball effectively but lacks the high leverage efficiency or explosive scoring plays seen in top-tier units. In short, Pittsburgh operates with steady execution and field control, but rarely flips field position or scoring momentum through chunk gains. The Steelers' rushing offense has been physical but inconsistent. Across 124 attempts, accounting for 45.4% of all offensive plays, Pittsburgh averages 84.0 rushing yards per game and just 3.4 yards per carry. The team's expected points added per rush stands at negative 0.06, translating to a total rushing EPA of negative 7.7, confirming a tendency toward drive neutral or drive negative outcomes on the ground. Despite this, there are some positive indicators. Pittsburgh's backs have collectively produced plus 28 rushing yards over expected, plus 0.3 per attempt, suggesting that runners such as Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren are compensating for subpar blocking through individual effort. The underlying issue lies in the trenches. The offensive line generates only 0.41 yards before contact per attempt, meaning runners are frequently met almost immediately by defenders. However, the back's resilience after contact shines. They average 3.02 yards after contact per rush, reflecting strong leg drive and balance. The offense posts a success rate of 42.7%, showing inconsistent results in sustaining drives. Box count data reveals that defenses stack the box on 24.2% of rushing plays, while light boxes appear 37.1% of the time. A reasonable balance that still hasn't translated into consistent ground efficiency. Overall, Pittsburgh's rushing attack operates as a complementary phase rather than the centerpiece of the offense. It provides physical tone-setting value and occasional bursts of production, 12 runs of 10-plus yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, but struggles to consistently advance drives or control games. Combined with a conservative passing structure and average efficiency metrics, the Steelers' overall offense is functional and well-balanced, yet limited by a lack of line surge, explosive play generation, and red zone finishing power. Pittsburgh Steelers Passing Offense Breakdown through Week 5, 2025. The Steelers' passing attack has been moderately efficient, leaning on rhythm-based execution and short to intermediate concepts rather than deep vertical aggression. Through 149 pass attempts, accounting for 54.6% of all offensive plays, the unit averages 193.8 passing yards per game and 6.5 yards per attempt, producing 10 total touchdowns. The team's expected points added per pass sits at plus 0.03, reflecting slightly positive efficiency built on consistency rather than explosiveness. A key driver of that stability has been the receiving core's ability to create yards after the catch. Pittsburgh has generated 742 total yards after catch, with plus 183 yards after catch over expected, YACOE, one of the league's better marks. This figure highlights the contributions of receivers like George Pickens, Roman Wilson, and tight end Pat Freiermuth, who collectively turn short completions into chain-moving gains through separation and post-catch agility. Quarterback timing and protection structure further define this passing identity. The average time to throw is just 2.56 seconds, a clear indicator of a quick-release, rhythm-driven scheme designed to minimize exposure to pressure. Despite facing a 30.9% blitz rate and pressure on 28.8% of dropbacks, Pittsburgh has allowed only 9 sacks, a 6.0% sack rate, reflecting solid pocket awareness and decisive reads. Play-action usage sits at 24.8%, offering moderate misdirection value but not yet translating into explosive downfield plays. The average receiver separation of 3.5 yards reinforces that the scheme successfully manufactures open looks, even if it sacrifices vertical depth for control and timing. Overall, the Steelers' passing game is built on precision, timing, and yards after catch efficiency. The offense's EPA profile reveals a stable but not high-ceiling approach, slightly below average overall, negative 0.01 EPA per play, average through the air plus 0.03 EPA per pass, and below average on the ground minus 0.06 EPA per rush. The contrast between the passing game's high YAC output and the run game's inefficiency, plus 183 YACOE versus plus 28 RYOE underscores that Pittsburgh's offense depends more on individual skill position talent than on line dominance. The 6.0% sack rate against blitz-heavy defenses shows that protection holds up well, but the lack of explosive plays continues to limit top-end scoring potential. Tactically, the Steelers' offensive identity revolves around short area, YAC-driven passing complemented by situational rushing. The strengths of this system lie in receiver separation, post-catch production, and overall balance. However, its weaknesses include minimal run-blocking push, a scarcity of downfield threats, and modest per-play expected points added. The optimal defensive counter to this structure involves crowding underneath routes to reduce YAC, forcing third and medium situations where Pittsburgh's rushing EPA declines sharply, and applying disciplined four-man pressure rather than frequent blitzing, since the quick-release system neutralizes extra rushers effectively. Note: the following defensive coverage data section isolates individual defender metrics in quick pass situations, evaluating yards allowed, target frequency, separation, and reaction time on throws released within 2.5 seconds. Pittsburgh Steelers top performers by coverage snaps through Week 6, 2025. Through 6 games, the Steelers' coverage data highlights a clear structure. Linebackers Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson anchor the short and intermediate zones, while veterans Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay handle perimeter duties with mixed success. Patrick Queen leads all defenders with 80 coverage snaps, drawing 11 targets and allowing 7 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Despite those scores, he's been aggressive and efficient overall, posting a negative 8.5% catch rate over expected, CROE, and a negative 0.9 expected points added per target, meaning he consistently forces contested catches and limits easy completions. His 63.6% catch rate allowed and 3.3-yard average separation show strong positioning and awareness in short coverage zones. Jalen Ramsey, by contrast, has struggled in quick timing situations. Across 78 coverage snaps, he's been targeted 11 times and surrendered 10 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown, with a passer rating against of 126.9. His plus 9.8% CROE and plus 8.1 EPA per target signal poor coverage efficiency, as quarterbacks have capitalized on softer off-coverage cushions and route leverage against him. Darius Slay has been steadier, but still vulnerable, allowing 9 receptions on 12 targets for 73 yards and no touchdowns, producing a passer rating of 89.9 and plus 4.4 EPA. While Slay's average separation, 2.2 yards, is tighter than Ramsey's, both corners have yielded high catch efficiency on short rhythm-based throws. Safety Juan Thornhill has played primarily in deep or help alignments, seeing just 1 target in 67 snaps, which he allowed for 17 yards, slightly skewing his metrics plus 21.7% CROE plus 1.9 EPA. Peyton Wilson has been efficient as a coverage linebacker, with 7 targets resulting in 6 receptions for only 28 yards. His 83.3 passer rating allowed, plus 0.9 EPA, and plus 6.6% CROE indicate competent short zone coverage with minimal yards after the catch. Supporting defenders have provided valuable containment in rotation. Brandon Echols and Deshaun Elliott stand out as reliable short zone contributors. Echols has faced 10 targets with a 70% catch rate, but limited damage, 43.3 passer rating, minus 5.4 coverage EPA, while Elliott has been even more effective, allowing completions on just 2/3 of his targets, 66.7%, for a 52.1 rating and negative 2.3 EPA. Both players rank among the most efficient Steelers in short area containment, limiting explosive yards after catch opportunities. Chuck Clark has served as a steady rotational safety, giving up a moderate 83.3% completion rate, but staying structurally sound. 105.6 rating, plus 5.8 EPA. Joey Porter Jr., though in a smaller sample, 4 targets, has been elite, allowing just 1 catch, 25% rate, with a negative 16.9% CROE and a passer rating of 39.6, effectively locking down his side on quick throws. Edge defenders such as T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith see minimal coverage assignments, typically in flat zones or on screen reads where they concede high completion rates but minimal yardage impact. Depth lineman Derek Harmon has been targeted once for a short completion, resulting in a negligible plus 0.5 EPA. Unit-level analysis and takeaways. The Steelers' coverage structure without blitzing emphasizes containment, zone-matching discipline, and short-area disruption. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson form a reliable interior coverage core, neutralizing shallow routes and maintaining leverage in the middle of the field. Ramsey and Slay, while providing veteran presence, have been exposed against quick game concepts, particularly slants and outs, where timing beats physicality. Meanwhile, Elliott and Echols provide strong support in flats and hooks, producing some of the defense's best EPA metrics in short coverage. Collectively, Pittsburgh's no-blitz coverage unit remains a strength, particularly in linebacker zones and short to intermediate areas. The defense's quick game vulnerability stems mainly from cushion depth on the perimeter rather than systemic breakdowns. With elite tightness metrics from Queen, minus 8.5% CROE, and Porter Jr., minus 16.9% CROE, plus a disciplined four-man rush led by T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, and Keanu Benton, the Steelers consistently disrupt rhythm throws and limit explosive completions even without blitz pressure. This combination of structure, discipline, and situational awareness makes Pittsburgh one of the more efficient no-blitz coverage defenses in the league through 6 weeks. Pittsburgh Steelers no-blitz defensive analysis through Week 6, 2025. The Steelers' no-blitz defense continues to demonstrate one of the most balanced and disciplined structures in the NFL, combining efficient four-man pressure with coverage integrity across all levels. In coverage, linebacker Patrick Queen anchors the underneath zones, logging 18 targets and allowing 132 yards and 2 touchdowns with a 66.7% completion rate. His plus 2.6 coverage EPA and plus 3.0% completion percentage over expected CPOE indicate above-average containment and reliable tackling, keeping plays in front of him and limiting yards after catch, just 5.0 per reception. On the perimeter, Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay have delivered steady but not dominant performances. Ramsey has faced 15 targets, allowing 86 yards and 1 touchdown with an 80% catch rate plus 2.4 EPA, while Slay has given up 39 yards on 8 targets, 75% catch rate plus 2.1 EPA. Both corners hold opponents to minimal separation, averaging between 3.1 and 3.9 yards, and force quarterbacks to settle for quick, short completions rather than deep strikes. Safety Deshaun Elliott has quietly been the standout performer, holding opponents to a 45.5% completion rate on 11 targets, with a stellar minus 6.2 coverage EPA and a remarkable negative 26.5% CPOE. His performance reflects consistent ball disruption and strong anticipation in zone coverage, making him the team's most efficient pass defender on non-blitz plays. Rookie linebacker Peyton Wilson has also been impressive, allowing 89 yards and 1 touchdown on 13 targets, posting plus 5.3 coverage EPA and plus 4.2% CPOE, numbers that highlight his growing spatial awareness and coverage discipline in intermediate zones. Safety. Juan Thornhill, while productive as a deep field presence, has allowed higher yardage, 105 on 8 targets, due to his aggressive positioning, yet remains essential for downfield support. In the pass rush, Pittsburgh's four-man front, led by T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith, continues to produce organic pressure without blitzing. Watt remains the engine of disruption, recording 14 pressures and 3 sacks on 98 rushes for a 14.3% pressure rate, paired with elite burst 0.84 seconds get-off and a 2.89-second average time to pressure. Herbig has complemented him efficiently, posting 11 pressures and 2 sacks at a 13.3% pressure rate, evidence of valuable rotational depth. Highsmith leads the team in pressure rate, 19.4%, despite not yet recording a sack, indicating steady edge disruption that flushes quarterbacks into collapsing lanes. Inside, Cameron Hayward, 7.2% pressure rate, and Keanu Benton, 3.8%, absorb double teams and maintain pocket integrity, while rotational lineman Derek Harmon adds depth with 6 pressures and a sack on 54 rushes. Together, the group achieves a consistent 13 to 15% pressure rate with strong containment discipline. Snap distribution data reinforces the defense's structure. Patrick Queen leads the team with 257 total snaps, nearly an every-down player. balancing 121 run defense reps and 135 in coverage. Ramsey, 235 snaps, and Slay maintain high workloads in perimeter coverage, often operating with minimal safety help. Rookie Peyton Wilson, 201 snaps, continues his emergence as a three-down linebacker, mirroring Queen's coverage responsibilities. T.J. Watt, 208 snaps, and Cameron Hayward, rotation managed, remain the core of the pass rush unit, combining high efficiency with situational deployment that preserves their impact across downs. Strategically, Pittsburgh's no-blitz philosophy relies on rushing 4 while dropping 7 into layered coverage. This structure consistently limits explosive plays, holding opponents to roughly 2.0 to 3.5 yards after catch on average. The pass rush generates timely disruption, while the coverage unit closes throwing windows with an average receiver separation of just 3.5 yards. EPA results are strongest in linebacker and slot zones, where Queen, Wilson, and Elliott dominate underneath containment. Thornhill's deep roll aggression occasionally allows yardage, but complements the system's overall discipline with turnover potential and breakups. Overall takeaways: Pittsburgh's no-blitz defense embodies discipline, synergy, and self-sufficiency. The front four, led by T.J. Watt, produces elite pressure without requiring extra rushers, while the secondary and linebacker units sustain tight coverage integrity. Top performers include Watt, 14 pressures, 3 sacks, 14.3% pressure rate; Deshaun Elliott, 45.5% catch rate allowed, negative 26.5% CPOE; and Patrick Queen, 37 tackles, 20 stops, plus 2.6 coverage EPA. Rookie Peyton Wilson continues to emerge as a versatile contributor with plus 5.3 coverage EPA and multi-phase impact. In summary, the Steelers' no-blitz defensive front ranks among the NFL's most cohesive units, capable of generating pressure with 4, disguising zone shells effectively, and neutralizing explosive plays. Their approach prioritizes containment and efficiency over risk, creating a defense that thrives on structure, intelligence, and disciplined execution. Pittsburgh Steelers, Blitz and No Pressure Defensive Analysis through Week 5, 2025. The Steelers' blitz performance in 2025 showcases an aggressive, timing-based approach built on edge disruption and interior compression. T.J. Watt remains the centerpiece of the pass rush, recording a 12.5% pressure rate over 64 pass rush snaps, with an elite 0.85-second get-off and 4.41-second average time to sack. His quickness consistently draws double teams, creating one-on-one opportunities for teammates. Nick Herbig has been the most efficient secondary rusher, posting a 22.8% pressure rate with 2.5 sacks and 5 quick pressures, production that underscores his burst and ability to finish plays when freed by interior stunts. Patrick Queen provides the timing element from the second level, blitzing on roughly 40% of his snaps and generating 8 pressures and 3 quick hits, proving himself a valuable weapon in designed pressure packages. Peyton Wilson and Derek Harmon also contribute effectively, both producing pressure rates above 18%, giving the defense reliable supplementary force. Inside, Cameron Hayward and Keanu Benton deliver steady disruption with a combined 8 pressures, crucial to collapsing the pocket and preventing quarterback step-ups even when outnumbered against double teams. In coverage during blitz situations, results are more uneven. Jalen Ramsey has been frequently targeted in single coverage shells, allowing 5 catches on 7 targets for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a plus 4.2 expected points added, EPA, allowed. with a 71.4% completion rate. Darius Slay has faced similar challenges, surrendering 7 receptions on 11 targets with a plus 3.4 EPA and 1 touchdown. Both veteran corners remain aggressive, but have been exploited on quick timing routes where pressure doesn't arrive fast enough. Patrick Queen has held up better underneath, allowing a 75% catch rate, but limiting yards after the catch, only 3.0 per reception, and staying within plus 2.5% CPOE, showing functional containment. Juan Thornhill provides standout deep field support, allowing 0 completions on 1 target with a negative 6.5% CPOE and 0 EPA, highlighting his reliability in limiting explosives when aligned in rotation. Meanwhile, Chuck Clark and Brandon Eccles have combined to allow only 6 receptions on 9 targets with plus 1.8 EPA total, reflecting solid flat and hook containment under blitz calls. The front 7, including Watt, Herbig, and Alex Highsmith, sees minimal coverage exposure, primarily tasked with zone drops or screen reads, none resulting in major breakdowns. Integrated Blitz Identity through Week 5, 2025. Within this system, defined roles drive Pittsburgh's pressure identity. T.J. Watt serves as the primary edge threat, collapsing pockets and forcing hurried throws with elite acceleration and strength. Nick Herbig is the speed finisher, boasting a 22.8% pressure rate and 2.85-second time to pressure, often used in stunt or overload alignments. Inside, Hayward and Benton handle pocket constriction, generating push that frees linebackers to penetrate gaps. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson execute timing blitzes with precision, combining for 13 pressures and 2 sacks, critical for disguising rush origins. However, the man coverage structure behind these pressures has introduced vulnerability. Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay have allowed 3 total touchdowns and plus 7.6 combined EPA when isolated in blitz scenarios, revealing strain when the secondary must hold coverage beyond 2.5 seconds. Safeties Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott, when rotated correctly, help mitigate this by anchoring deep zones and preventing explosive completions. In essence, the Steelers' blitz defense thrives through disruption more than sack production. The front 7, particularly Herbig and Queen, sustains a league-caliber pressure rate near 21%, with most pressures arriving in under 3 seconds. Yet, when blitz coverage breaks down, EPA spikes sharply, especially against quick game attacks targeting the corners. When Pittsburgh disguises its pressures with zone behind the blitz, or features Thornhill as the rotational safety, efficiency against them improves dramatically, cutting EPA allowed by multiple points. Overall, no pressure context and takeaway. When the Steelers fail to generate pressure, their defensive efficiency declines noticeably. This no-pressure split isolates clean pocket situations for opposing quarterbacks, revealing reliance on coverage discipline and open field tackling. The data shows that while linebackers like Queen and Wilson remain assignment sound, the secondary's performance varies. Elite in flashes, Porter Jr., Elliott, but inconsistent against rhythm passing. Ultimately, Pittsburgh's defense is constructed around front 4 and timed pressure effectiveness. When the rush gets home, coverage holds. When it doesn't, the unit becomes susceptible to quick, intermediate completions. In summary, the 2025 Steelers' pressure profile underlines their defensive identity, a team built on speed, timing, and structural discipline. The blitz is their spark, the 4-man rush their foundation, and the challenge remains maintaining coverage cohesion when heat doesn't arrive in time. Pittsburgh Steelers. No pressure. Defensive breakdown. through Week 6, 2025. When the Steelers fail to generate pressure, the defense transitions into a containment mode heavily dependent on coverage discipline and tackling efficiency. The numbers reveal a clear divide between top-performing defenders and those who struggle when quarterbacks have clean pockets. Patrick Queen has seen the highest target volume in these situations, facing 26 throws and allowing 188 yards and 2 touchdowns at a 69.2% completion rate. His plus 3.3 coverage EPA and plus 2.8% completion percentage over. Expected CPOE suggests sound positioning, but a tendency to concede underneath catches, reflected in 4.3 yards after catch per reception. On the perimeter, Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey both show similar patterns, effective control of space, but susceptible to high-efficiency completions. Slay has given up 131 yards and 1 touchdown on 19 targets, 68.4% catch rate, plus 5.5 EPA, while Ramsey has surrendered 186 yards and 3 touchdowns on 22 targets, 77.3% catch rate, plus 6.6 EPA. Their tight average separation marks, 2.2 for Slay, 3.5 for Ramsey, indicate sound technique, but the positive EPA and high passer ratings, 105.4 and 122.3, reveal that clean pocket quarterbacks can still exploit timing windows on slants, outs, and intermediate digs. In the secondary, Juan Thornhill and Chuck Clark represent the deeper coverage layer, with mixed results. Thornhill has allowed 105 yards on 9 targets, 77.8% catch rate, plus 10.4% CPOE, while Clark has yielded 154 yards on 9 targets with a massive plus 20.3% CPOE and plus 12.0 EPA. Both signs of deep zone vulnerability when opposing quarterbacks aren't pressured. Their average separation, 2.5 to 3.0 yards, and high yards after catch per reception, up to 8.8 for Clark, highlight breakdowns in late close pursuit. Meanwhile, the linebacking pair of Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen continues to play large roles in off-ball coverage, with Wilson allowing 106 yards and a touchdown on 15 targets, 80% catch rate, plus 7.3 EPA. Both display solid positioning but yield too many completions in intermediate windows, an area opposing offenses have exploited. Conversely, Brandon Echols and Deshaun Elliott stand out as elite stabilizers in no-pressure coverage situations. Echols has allowed just 82 yards on 16 targets, 62.5% completion rate, with 1 interception, producing a negative 7.2 coverage EPA and negative 11.2% CPOE. Elliott has been even better, giving up only 84 yards on 16 targets, 50% completion rate, also with 1 interception, a negative 6.4 EPA, and an exceptional negative 25.5% CPOE, all while forcing tight windows and breaking up multiple quick game passes. Their ability to limit YAC 2.1 to 4.8 per catch and generate sub-50 passer ratings, 49.5 for Echols, 39.6 for Elliott, makes them the top reliability assets in Pittsburgh's secondary. Joey Porter Jr., though in a smaller sample, remains effective as well, allowing just 45 yards and a 62.5% completion rate, showing growth as a developing perimeter corner with compact 1.9-yard average separation. The pass rush data under no-pressure conditions further underscores the unit's imbalance. T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith continue to generate strong effort even when not recording immediate pressure, maintaining consistent quick pressure rates, 13.0%, 16.9%, and 20.0%, respectively. Herbig, in particular, has emerged as the most efficient rotational edge presence, tallying 4.5 sacks and 23 pressures in limited duty. Hayward, Benton, and Harmon, however, provide limited pocket collapse, combining for under 8% total pressure rate, confirming that interior push remains the missing piece. When the pocket stays clean, the back seven becomes overly stressed, often giving up completions in soft zones. Snap distribution highlights how this dynamic unfolds. Patrick Queen remains the defensive centerpiece, logging 208 total no-pressure snaps and maintaining near-full participation, 98.5%. He leads all defenders in coverage and off-ball activity. Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay handle the highest coverage volumes on the perimeter, while Watt and Herbig dominate pass rush deployment. Peyton Wilson continues to grow into a multi-phase linebacker role, while safeties Deshaun Elliott and Chuck Clark alternate between deep rotation and box alignment. The linebacker safety synergy provides a solid framework, but catch rates near or above 75% in the intermediate zones point to consistent vulnerability against tight ends and running backs. Synthesis, Steelers, no pressure, defensive identity. When the Steelers don't generate pressure, their defense morphs into a disciplined yet reactive containment unit. The secondary's opportunism, particularly from Elliott and Echols, who have combined for 2 interceptions and a collective negative 30% CPOE, helps mitigate damage. The edge rushers remain highly efficient even when unproductive in box score terms, sustaining pressure rates around 13 to 17%. Linebackers like Queen and Wilson maintain spatial discipline that prevents explosive plays, as evidenced by limited deep completions and modest YAC totals. However, vulnerabilities persist. The reliance on isolated man-matching from Ramsey and Slay without consistent safety rotation leaves the defense exposed to precision passing, with opposing quarterbacks producing passer ratings above 105 when unpressured. Interior linemen Hayward and Benton struggle to generate quick pocket collapse, allowing quarterbacks ample time to progress through reads. Furthermore, high linebacker catch rates, nearly 80%, reveal persistent struggles against short-area checkdowns and crossing routes. To stabilize this no-pressure profile, Pittsburgh must improve its post-snap rotations, disguise safety alignments more effectively, and incorporate simulated pressures or earlier down usage of Herbig to elevate quick pressure percentage without committing to full blitzes. Overall, the Steelers' identity under no-pressure conditions is defined by contrast. Strong edge discipline and opportunistic secondary play offset by limited interior push and soft zone coverage. With better timing in disguise packages and interior pass rush consistency, this defense could evolve from structurally sound to consistently dominant. Pittsburgh Steelers, top coverage performers, and efficiency summary through Week 6, 2025. The Steelers' coverage metrics through 6 weeks reveal a balanced but varied defensive picture, with several standout performers anchoring the unit's stability. Patrick Queen has been one of the most targeted defenders, facing 26 passes and allowing 18 completions for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Despite the heavy volume, his efficiency remains steady, posting a 69.2% catch rate, plus 2.8% catch rate over expected, CROE, and a plus 3.3 coverage expected points added, EPA. His 115.5 passer rating allowed and 3.8 yard average separation reflect moderate vulnerability in space, yet he limits damage effectively after the catch, 4.3 YAC per reception. Queen's numbers suggest a stabilizing influence in underneath zones, providing containment even when conceding completions. Darius Slay continues to perform at a veteran level, holding opponents to 13 receptions on 19 targets for 131 yards and 1 touchdown, with a 68.4% completion rate, plus 5.1% CROE, and plus 5.5 EPA. Slay combines tight window discipline, 31.6%, and compact average separation, 2.2 yards, to control the boundary. His ability to contest throws and restrict yards after catch reinforces his role as a consistent perimeter anchor. Jalen Ramsey, meanwhile, has been a high-variance defender, productive yet volatile. Targeted 22 times, he has allowed 17 receptions for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns, but recorded 1 interception. Despite a 77.3% catch rate and a 122.3 opposing passer rating, Ramsey's plus 6.6 EPA suggests his situational playmaking, including key stops and turnover creation, mitigates the raw yardage and touchdowns surrendered. His 3.5-yard average separation and 9.1% tight window rate indicate that while he gives space in off-coverage, he remains opportunistic when breaking on the ball. At safety, Juan Thornhill has provided steady containment across 9 targets, allowing 7 completions for 105 yards. His 77.8% completion rate and plus 10.4% CROE reflect the challenges of deep zone positioning, but his plus 2.9 EPA indicates positive value through limiting explosive completions. He's been effective as an over-the-top safety, but not a frequent disruptor. Rookie linebacker Peyton Wilson has also impressed, allowing 12 catches on 15 targets for 106 yards and 1 touchdown, while posting a team-best plus 7.3 EPA. Though his 80% completion rate suggests soft coverage depth, his impact lies in preventing conversions and tackling efficiently in space, an encouraging sign for a rookie contributing heavily in coverage downs. Coverage efficiency tiers. Pittsburgh's coverage unit divides cleanly into 3 performance tiers. The elite EPA group includes Slay, Ramsey, and Wilson, defenders who combine impact plays, tight coverage, and turnover creation to offset yardage allowed. The solid tier, featuring Queen, Thornhill, and Joey Porter Jr., provides reliable control over short and intermediate zones, minimizing explosive plays while maintaining coverage structure. The negative tier includes Elliott, Herbig, Watt, and Highsmith, whose limited coverage reps often occur in the flats or on screen assignments, leading to inflated separation and yards after catch numbers rather than systemic failures. Contextual trends. The Steelers' defensive philosophy leans toward a heavy man-press mix with strong linebacker involvement. Queen and Wilson's extensive coverage reps illustrate a hybrid zone rotation system that prioritizes middle field integrity and disguised leverage. Boundary tightness has been a highlight. Slay's 31.6% and Porter Jr.'s 50% tight window rates demonstrate elite contest rates on perimeter routes. However, explosive yards after catch remain an area of concern, particularly from Chuck Clark, 8.8 YAC per reception, and front 7 players like T.J. Watt, 13.2, and Alex Highsmith, 13.5, often reflecting mismatches in underneath zone assignments. Overall takeaways. The backbone of Pittsburgh's coverage success lies with Slay, Queen, and Wilson, who collectively account for plus 16.1 EPA and display disciplined positional control. Ramsey and Clark contribute volatility, occasionally surrendering touchdowns, but also generating disruption and turnovers. The front seven rotation introduces some softness underneath, as edge defenders are occasionally tasked with zone responsibilities. Meanwhile, safety play has been mixed. Thornhill and Deshaun Elliott offer reliable range and spatial control, but inconsistent tight window pressure. Altogether, the Steelers' coverage profile combines high-end individual performances with structural discipline, though improvement in deep safety rotation and underneath matchups could elevate this defense from solid to elite. Pass def, no pressure, no blitz. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 pass defense in situations with no pressure and no blitz shows a clear weakness in containing opposing offenses when the pass rush does not affect the quarterback. Over 5 games, opponents have attempted 256 passes and completed 127 of them, resulting in a completion rate of nearly half of all attempts. Opposing quarterbacks have averaged 196.8 passing yards per game against Pittsburgh in these no-pressure, no-blitz situations, with each pass play producing an average of 7.7 yards gained. The defense has allowed 6 passing touchdowns in these situations, and opponents have generated a positive expected points added value of plus 0.29 per pass, meaning that offenses are performing above league average efficiency whenever the Steelers fail to disrupt the pocket. Quarterbacks facing no pressure from Pittsburgh have an average time to throw of 2.50 seconds, reflecting clean pockets and ample time to make reads. The Steelers have recorded 0 sacks, 0 pressures, and a pressure rate of 0% in these cases, showing that the defensive front has not created meaningful disruption. Although the average get-off speed of 0.87 seconds indicates that the defensive line reacts quickly at the snap, it has not translated into actual pressure or negative plays for opposing offenses. In coverage, receivers facing the Steelers under these conditions have produced 427 yards after the catch, and the team has yielded an average receiver separation of 3.5 yards at the point of completion. The yards after catch over expected value is recorded as 0, which suggests that while the tackling has been average, the initial separation allowed in coverage gives opponents room to operate freely. The team's blitz rate sits at 28.8% overall, but in this particular subset of plays, where no blitz or pressure occurs, the defense relies purely on coverage integrity rather than disruption. Overall, when the Steelers generate no pressure and do not send additional rushers, their pass defense becomes vulnerable. The coverage structure appears sound but overly conservative, allowing high-percentage throws and efficient yardage gains rather than forcing mistakes. Clean pockets lead to nearly 200 passing yards per game and 6 touchdowns in just 5 contests, showing that opposing quarterbacks are capitalizing on time and space. To improve in these areas, the Steelers must focus on increasing consistent pass rush penetration and reducing receiver separation within the first few seconds of each play to lower the opponent's overall expected points production. Pass def, pressure, blitz. The Pittsburgh Steelers' 2025 pass defense under pressure and blitz has been elite through 5 games. They have faced 83 opponent pass attempts under these conditions and allowed only 48.2 passing yards per game, the best mark in the league. Opponents have completed 94.3% of their passes under pressure or blitz situations, but this high rate reflects mostly short area completions that yield minimal yardage after the catch. The Steelers' defense has generated 20 sacks, translating to an exceptional 22.7% sack rate, while producing 88 total quarterback pressures, both elite indicators of disruption. Their quarterback pressure percentage sits at 100% in the tracked data set, meaning every pressured dropback resulted in either contact, a hit, or a hurry. The unit's average time to throw forced is just 2.50 seconds, showing how quickly opposing quarterbacks are forced to release the ball under duress. Pittsburgh's blitz rate of 43.2% underscores the aggressive nature of Terrell Austin's defensive scheme, which frequently sends extra rushers from multiple angles. The get-off speed of 0.81 seconds and average time to throw forced 2.50 seconds illustrate the defense's ability to collapse pockets rapidly. The Steelers have allowed only 191 yards after catch under these scenarios, with opponents generating just 3.8 yards of separation on average, showing strong coverage discipline even when blitzing. Overall, the data paints a picture of a defense that thrives on chaos, using aggressive pressure packages to generate sacks, force quick decisions, and keep yards per attempt to a minimal 2.9 yards per pass, while maintaining dominance through physicality and precision. Overall efficiency. The Steelers have faced 210 pass attempts of short depth, allowing a 61.0% completion rate and 245.0 passing yards per game in this zone range. Opponents average just 5.8 yards per pass play, which is below league average for short throws, indicating disciplined tackling and spatial awareness in underneath coverage. Scoring and efficiency impact. Pittsburgh has surrendered only 7 passing touchdowns on these short throws, while generating an expected points added per pass, EPA/pass, of minus 0.06, meaning opposing offenses lose expected value on each short-range attempt. This efficiency stems from quick recognition by linebackers and defensive backs in shallow zones. Pressure and timing control. The time to throw, TTT, against them averages 2.76 seconds, reflecting how effectively the front 7 closes windows before routes can develop further downfield. They've recorded 20 sacks on such concepts, an excellent total given the short pass context, with a 9.1% sack rate and 40.0% quarterback pressure rate, QBP%. Their quick burst pressure score of 88 and get-off of 0.85 seconds show consistent pass rush timing. Blitz and coverage dynamics. The defense blitzes on 34.5% of these short attempts, a relatively aggressive rate that maintains disruption even when opponents try to neutralize the rush with quick throws. The average separation allowed is 3.6 yards, suggesting tight man or zone compression that limits yards after catch. Tackling and yards after catch. Opponents have generated 618 yards after catch, AYAC, in this sample, but the Steelers' YAC over expected, YACOE, of plus 21 indicates only a minor margin over baseline expectation, largely absorbed by physical tackling and quick rallying to the ball. Summary. In short-yard passing defense, the Steelers excel at pressuring quarterbacks and minimizing efficiency, producing negative EPA and low yards per attempt, despite facing a high number of quick throws. Their combination of disciplined underneath coverage, frequent pressure, and effective blitz timing defines one of the league's most efficient short-area pass defenses through 5 games. Overall efficiency. Through 5 games in the 2025 regular season, Pittsburgh's defense has faced 40 intermediate pass attempts, allowing 64.4 yards per game and 8.1 yards per pass. The completion rate against them is 100% on these tracked plays, meaning every intermediate attempt was completed. Despite that, the Steelers have allowed just 1 touchdown on these passes, indicating that completions are often short of scoring opportunities. Expected points and pressure dynamics. Their expected points added per pass, EPA/pass, allowed sits at plus 0.18, showing that intermediate throws have been moderately successful against them. Quarterbacks are averaging a time to throw, TTT, of 2.90 seconds, suggesting ample time in the pocket on these mid-depth reads. The Steelers have generated 0 sacks in this range, and their sack rate is therefore 0%. However, their quarterback pressure rate, QBP%, remains substantial at 40%, indicating that while pressure is frequent, it's not converting into takedowns. Blitz and get-off. Pittsburgh is blitzing on 35% of these plays, which is an above-average frequency. Their get-off time of 0.79 seconds shows good initial burst from the defensive front. This reflects an aggressive philosophy that forces quick processing by opposing quarterbacks but has yet to produce turnovers or sacks in this specific range. Yards after catch and separation. Opponents have totaled 61 yards after the catch, YAC, on these intermediate completions, with a yards after catch over expected, RDIACOE, of +5, meaning receivers are gaining slightly more than expected post-reception. Average separation at the catch point is 2.4 yards, a moderate cushion indicating the coverage unit is not getting beat deep, but allowing windows large enough for consistent completions. Summary: Pittsburgh's intermediate pass defense shows a bend-but-don't-break pattern. They allow completions consistently, but limit touchdowns and explosive gains. Pressure creation, 40% QBP, is strong, though conversion efficiency, 0 sacks, is lagging. Their coverage spacing and YAC containment are manageable but not yet dominant. In tactical terms, opposing offenses are finding rhythm on in-breaking routes and deep curls, particularly when Pittsburgh fails to close from its zone or match coverage. Improving pressure-to-sack efficiency and tightening intermediate zone spacing would elevate this unit from average containment to elite disruption. Pittsburgh Steelers Overall Deep Pass Defense Overview through Week 6, 2025. Through 6 games, the Steelers have faced only 14 deep passing attempts, allowing an average of 48.6 passing yards per game on such plays and 17.4 yards per completion. This small sample suggests that while opposing offenses occasionally test Pittsburgh vertically, the defense has generally managed to limit the overall volume of explosive downfield plays. The data points to a defense that prioritizes disruption and containment but remains susceptible to damage when deep coverage or pressure timing falters. In terms of efficiency and pressure metrics, Pittsburgh has allowed 3 touchdowns on deep passes and an expected points added of +1.06 per attempt, a clear indicator that opponents gain strong value when they complete downfield throws. Quarterbacks have an average time to throw, TTT, of 3.41 seconds, giving them enough time to set their feet and deliver vertical shots. And the Steelers have yet to record a sack on any of these attempts. While their quarterback pressure rate, QBP%, sits at a healthy 50.0%, the inability to finish plays with sacks reveals a gap between initial disruption and closing execution. The team's blitz and disruption profile underscores this aggressive approach. Pittsburgh blitzes on 50% of deep play situations, a notably high rate that reflects coordinator Terrell Austin's willingness to gamble for pressure. The average get-off time of 0.84 seconds demonstrates good initial burst, while a time to pressure, TTP, of 2.34 seconds suggests moderate arrival speed. Quick enough to influence throws but not consistently collapse the pocket before the deep ball is released. Coverage outcome metrics tell a nuanced story. Opponents have generated 72 total yards after catch, YAC, on deep completions, averaging 5.1 yards per play, which indicates that most of the damage occurs at the catch point, rather than from missed tackles. However, the yards after catch over expected, YACOE figure of +24, suggests receivers are still outperforming defensive recovery angles. gaining extra yardage due to late reactions, or poor over-the-top positioning. The average separation of 3.1 yards is above league average for deep passes, pointing to occasional communication lapses or mismatches in one-on-one coverage downfield. In summary, the Steelers' deep pass defense operates as a high-risk, high-reward system. They pressure and blitz frequently, forcing quick decisions from quarterbacks. Yet when the rush fails to land, the secondary becomes exposed to big plays. The combination of a strong pressure rate but 0 sacks highlights the defense's inability to close, while the plus 1.06 EPA per deep attempt and 3 touchdowns allowed reflect the cost of that aggressiveness. Ultimately, Pittsburgh's strength lies in keeping deep attempts rare and forcing hurried throws. Its weakness comes when protection holds, leading to explosive completions, elevated YAC, and costly scoring plays. Pittsburgh Steelers Interior Run Defense Overview 2025 season through Week 5. Through the first 5 games of the 2025 season, the Pittsburgh Steelers' interior run defense has been one of the most efficient units in the league. The team has faced 59 total inside rushing attempts, holding opponents to just 47.6 rushing yards per game and 4.0 yards per carry-on runs between the tackles. This marks elite containment, especially given the high proportion of short yardage and early down situations they defend. Pittsburgh's ability to consistently hold opponents under 50 rushing yards per game on interior attempts reflects strong gap control and front-line integrity. In terms of efficiency, the Steelers have allowed just 5 runs of 10 or more yards, roughly 1 per game, confirming their ability to minimize explosive plays. Their stuff rate of 13.6%, the percentage of runs stopped at or behind the line, is solid but not dominant. However, their expected points added per rush, negative 0.26, and rushing yards over expected, negative 24 total, demonstrate exceptional down-to-down effectiveness. On average, opponents gain nearly half a yard less than expected per interior carry, negative 0.41, RERYOE per attempt, underscoring the defense's elite discipline and pursuit speed at the point of attack. Yardage distribution reveals a well-balanced profile. Pittsburgh allows just 1.28 yards before contact per attempt, showing that offensive lines struggle to generate initial push. Ball carriers manage 2.75 yards after contact, indicating that while initial penetration is consistent, tacklers occasionally give up modest yards through contact. All data is derived from true interior attempts, 100% inside runs, highlighting the dominance of Pittsburgh's defensive tackles and linebackers in controlling A and B gap traffic. Box distribution data further emphasizes the unit's efficiency. The Steelers operate with light boxes on 32.2% of snaps and stacked boxes on only 28.8%, meaning they stop the run effectively without overcommitting defenders. This success speaks to the power and leverage of the front four, particularly in base alignments. In summary, the Steelers' 2025 interior run defense ranks among the NFL's best. The group consistently forces negative expected outcomes, limits explosives, and maintains structural integrity even in lighter fronts. The combination of Cameron Hayward's veteran gap control, Keanu Benton's leverage strength, and linebacker downhill discipline creates a reliable core that thrives on early engagement and minimal missed fits. Pittsburgh's defensive identity in the trenches can be defined simply. They dominate the interior through disciplined leverage, physicality, and efficient team pursuit. Pittsburgh Steelers overall defensive performance through 5 games, 2025 season. Through 5 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense has displayed a disciplined and balanced structure, emphasizing controlled efficiency against both the run and the pass. Opponents have run the ball on 39% of defensive snaps, 134 rushing attempts on 344 total plays, gaining 553 total yards, an average of 110.6 rushing yards per game and 4.1 yards per carry. This moderate figure suggests solid gap discipline at the line of scrimmage, though occasional leaks into the second level have contributed to sustained drives. The defense has allowed 4 rushing touchdowns and 16 explosive runs of 10 or more yards, roughly 3.2 per game, indicating that while initial containment is sound, occasional breakdowns in pursuit or missed tackles have produced intermittent big plays. Advanced metrics further illustrate a consistent, if not dominant, run defense. The Steelers' stuff rate of 17.9% is slightly below elite levels, but confirms that nearly 1 in 6 carries is stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage. Their expected points, added per rush, negative 0.09, and rushing yards over expected, negative 13 total, show that the unit performs slightly better than the league average in terms of expected outcomes, forcing inefficiency in opposing rushing attacks. The yards before contact per attempt, 1.25, demonstrates strong penetration up front, while yards after contact, 2.87, indicates room for improvement in tackling consistency at the second level. Pittsburgh's run-fit distribution shows the versatility of its defensive front. The team deploys light boxes, 6 defenders, on 33.6% of snaps, neutral boxes, 7 defenders, on roughly 35%, and stacked boxes, 8 defenders, on 31.3%, a balance that underscores its flexibility in alternating between coverage-heavy alignments and run-first looks. This distribution shows confidence in the front seven's mechanics and gap discipline without constantly overloading the box. Overall, the run defense grades as controlled but not dominant. It limits expected points added and prevents consistent chunk gains, but explosive plays remain a periodic vulnerability. Through the air, the Steelers have faced 344 pass attempts, allowing 210 completions, 61.0%, for 245.0 yards per game and 5.8 yards per attempt. They've given up 7 passing touchdowns while holding opposing quarterbacks to a slightly negative EPA per pass, negative 0.06, meaning their pass defense marginally reduces opponent efficiency relative to the league baseline. This reflects a defense that bends but rarely breaks, allowing yardage but minimizing scoring opportunities. The Steelers' pressure and disruption metrics reinforce their defensive identity. The front seven has produced 20 sacks, yielding a 9.1% sack rate, along with 88 total quarterback pressures, a 40.0% pressure rate that ranks among the better marks in the NFL. Quarterbacks average 2.76 seconds to throw against Pittsburgh, a testament to consistent pocket disruption. The blitz rate, 34.5%, shows a balanced approach, aggressive enough to influence rhythm without overexposing coverage. A 0.85-second get-off time highlights elite first-step explosion from players like T.J. Watt and Nick Herbig, confirming strong synchronization between edge and interior rushers. In coverage, Pittsburgh has allowed 618 total yards after the catch, YYAC, with a YAC over expected, COE, of plus 21, meaning receivers are generating slightly more post-catch yardage than anticipated. This, combined with an average separation allowed of 3.6 yards, points to moderate softness in zone transitions and open field tackling. While not a structural flaw, it suggests room for refinement in tightening underneath zones and improving rally-to-the-ball tackling. Overall, the Steelers' pass defense is pressure-driven and bend but don't break in nature. They excel at generating disruption up front and limiting deep completions, but concede some efficiency underneath. The defense's overall profile, 355.6 total yards per game allowed, 245.0 passing, 110.6 rushing, places them in the league's middle tier by yardage, but above average in scoring prevention, allowing just 21.4 points per game and 11 total touchdowns across 5 contests. With a 5.2 yards per play allowed rate and slight negative EPA in both phases, the Steelers are outperforming expectations, anchored by a relentless front seven and a disciplined, structurally sound secondary. In summary, Pittsburgh's 2025 defense thrives on front-end disruption, steady containment, and situational flexibility, while tackling consistency and explosive play prevention remain areas for refinement. The combination of elite pressure, balanced scheming, and low EPA metrics across both run and pass phases make this one of the more fundamentally efficient defenses in the league through the first third of the season. Pittsburgh Steelers Defensive Efficiency Breakdown through Week 5, 2025. The Steelers' defense through 5 games embodies a bend-but-don't-break philosophy, allowing moderate yardage totals but winning consistently in terms of efficiency and situational control. Opponents are averaging 355.6 total yards per game, divided between 245.0 passing yards and 110.6 rushing yards, with 11 total touchdowns surrendered across 5 contests. Despite this yardage, the defense limits opponents to 21.4 points per game, a testament to strong red zone discipline and steady pressure up front. Their 5.2 yards per play allowed marks a middle-tier performance in raw yardage, but hides a deeper story of down-to-down effectiveness. Pittsburgh's expected points. Added, EPA, metrics remain slightly negative for opposing offenses, meaning the unit consistently performs better than expectation against both the pass and the run. From an efficiency standpoint, Pittsburgh's defensive EPA profile is well-rounded. The team posts an EPA per play of negative 0.07, signaling that each opponent play slightly decreases expected scoring value. Against the pass, EPA per dropback sits at negative 0.06, showing the secondary and pressure schemes are forcing shorter completions and stopping drives. Versus the run, EPA per rush of negative 0.09 highlights an even greater defensive impact, consistently suppressing rushing success rates and forcing long yardage downs. Opponents have leaned pass-heavy against the Steelers, 61.0% pass rate, but the defense's 5.8 yards per pass play and 4.1 yards per rush reflect disciplined coverage and balanced gap control that rarely yield explosive gains. Pressure remains the defining feature of Pittsburgh's defensive identity. Quarterbacks average 2.76 seconds to throw, showing the pass rush's ability to disrupt timing without constant blitzing. The front seven generates pressure on 40% of opponent dropbacks, an elite rate equating to 88 total pressures through 5 games. This front, anchored by T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Cameron Hayward, and Keanu Benton, is consistently active in collapsing the pocket, creating hurried reads, and forcing low-efficiency passing outcomes. Contextually, this defense excels at forcing opponents to earn every yard. Teams can move the ball in volume, but struggle to sustain drives efficiently. The combination of steady run fits, disciplined zone drops, and relentless edge pressure compresses time and space for opposing offenses. The EPA trends confirm that even though Pittsburgh allows yardage between the 20s, they consistently win the efficiency battle per play, particularly against the run. The pass rush's synergy with secondary coverage limits explosive passing plays to a manageable 5.8 yards per attempt, while maintaining solid control of the line of scrimmage on early downs. Bottom line: the 2025 Steelers defense is pressure-driven, physical, and situationally disciplined. Its strengths lie in balanced efficiency and top-tier pressure creation, powered by elite first-step explosiveness, 0.85-second average get-off, and cohesive pass rush design. Its primary weakness remains between the 20's yardage, steady gains that don't often translate into points thanks to strong red zone execution. Overall, the defense's slightly negative EPA impact makes it one of the more reliable, if not dominant, units through Week 5. As a complimentary note, Pittsburgh's long-yardage run game on offense contrasts their defensive identity. It remains stubborn but inefficient, relying on physical after-contact gains rather than clean blocking or scheme spacing. Occasional 10-plus yard bursts exist, but the negative 0.08 EPA per attempt underscores limited payoff. The heavy outside run bias and low yards before contact numbers highlight blocking limitations, while a slight positive rushing yards over expected RYOE suggests that individual runner effort is compensating for structural inefficiency.